There we go. 20 seconds streaming. Borda sit back, durno dweri bod, du I, Roan, Roan idu I, fi'n criso cartref mwrn, in now in Saesneg, and now in English after Welsh. Good morning. I'm Ruadhán, and how's your day been? And welcome to my spooky house. And if you haven't checked out a stream or, I don't know. Oh, that's right. I'm still working on that one that I wanted to upload. I'm still working on that. I filmed it like, oh gosh, at this point 2 weeks ago. And I am still trying to, oh gosh, so much shit just happened all over this month, and okay, this was going to go in the cabinet over the sink, and this was going to go into the larder up around here. There we go. Please don't unplug. And I need to take the shopping cart back to the balcony. It's been out since last night. And I need to go through my shelves again, probably. Seriously, okay. Stay. I should probably go through my shelves again, but right now I'm going to do a puzzle and complain about Lenawee County. Why am I complaining about Lenawee County? I really hoped to have done this, what was that, Tuesday? The 26th? No, that was, today is Saturday, so the 26th was Friday. And I also realized just maybe 20 minutes ago, right after I, seriously, right after I got out of my, oh my god. All right, I need to plug this in, or the charge is going to run out before the puzzle does. Hold on. Yes, there's a bunch of crap in my kitchen. On the good side, though, there is progress since even last week, much less 2 weeks ago, when one of my social workers was last here. So, some progress is better than none. That's at least the adage that Swayze over at Unnatural Vegan usually goes by, you know, like when just like trying to urge people to just like, you don't have to go vegan just right away. And yet, like, and even in spite of the fact that many people who watch her videos, many people who subscribe to her or don't subscribe to her because they have some issue with her, I don't know why they would. I've seen people say just like, outright lies, right? Like Swayze over at Unnatural Vegan. Oh, she just tries to make carnists feel better about themselves. Oh, she ignores the reality of food deserts in urban areas, when she has literally said through multiple videos that, yes, there are reasons due to disability, lack of resources, at one's, disposal for why they may not be vegan right away, like, or if at all, right? That there are people with severe allergies. Granted, I have a fairly mild allergy as far as like my initial reaction to ingesting soy. In fact, I suffered a little bit for that last night because last night dinner was a big giant cookie from Insomnia Cookies. It was a gorgeous full moon last night, and so Insomnia Cookies, which is just like around the corner and a couple blocks from me, I'm sure there are some weird people who have pretty much figured out exactly where in Ypsilanti I live, just for like the way I described my neighborhood. And for that and many, many other reasons about how people on the internet can be really fucking weird, I like to keep the identity of little niece as private as possible. Or I like to keep as much information about her private as possible. Like, in no part, taking sponsorship for tonight's stream is Town Club Soda, bottled in Detroit since, well, if you're going to go by the design, either since my guess would be the probably late 40s, early 50s by the font, or whoever designed this for, whoever designed the logo for their brand, in spite of the fact that, it may be a very new brand. I don't know. I don't know much about them other than, like, they're cheaper than Faygo. They are. They're cheaper than Faygo. At the very least, when you buy in glass bottles, and their glass bottles are 16 ounces, so about a pint. Now, granted, Faygo in plastic bottles is cheaper by the ounce because it's commonly like 79 cents. Shit, I think Kroger right now has Faygo in 20-ounce bottles for 69 cents a bottle. It's a 20-ounce bottle, but Town Club, they use like pure cane sugar. I think it's a much milder sweetness to, like their vanilla cream soda compared to Faygo's cream soda. So yeah, it's like, it's a little step up from Faygo. If you're buying it in glass bottles, like Faygo is available in glass bottles at some locations. But it works. I did the maths one time. Faygo in glass bottles, excuse me, is a little more than double the price per ounce than it is in the plastic bottles. So, and it is definitely costs more per ounce than Town Club, which defaults to glass bottles, which are, like actually recyclable, unlike plastics. So let's see. I put a whole bunch of puzzles on top of my puzzle last time because that's an easy way to like keep it all steady, because I don't have one of those fancy ass mats. I should put one of those on. Yeah, I've got a wish list for my weekly puzzle club when I was doing the streams very, very regularly, and I realized, I started saying this a bit ago, but I realized, like, shortly after I got out of the shower, that I forgot about the Wednesday live reading of short stories or something this last Wednesday, which was the last Wednesday of the month. Why do I do last Wednesdays? Because I was an Hellenic polytheist for many, many years. By interpretatio Graece, Wednesday is, on the Roman calendar, which Gregorian is based on, excuse me, is day sacred to, technically Ruadhán, because in English we take the Germanic names. But yeah, like by interpretatio, so like there are aspects of Woden that easily blend with the Roman Mercury, and Mercury has many aspects to him that in common with the Hellenic Hermes. So yeah, like that is why I do like the last Wednesday of the month for reading. That's why I've always done it when I have done it. What's this doing here? This should be, fuck it. No, I'm not feeling clever right now. So I'm still working on this one. I say to my whole single person, oh, hello, Emerald. I almost missed you. Well, like in the chat thing, granted, like, according to this, you're the only one here. So if there's anybody here besides Emerald, feel free to say hello while I complain about this last week. So, as we remember from the previous week, which was when I last did a puzzle stream, at the beginning of this month, my sister passed away, like literally February 2nd. So she is like now caught in a Bill Murray existentialist hell, right? At least that is what I'm telling myself, because I don't know. I also grew up Catholic, so like purgatory, and it's still got a lot of baggage in here, right? But humor is a way that many people deal with grief. and I've never been the most like flamboyantly expressive with my feelings like a lot of the McElroy side of my family, but I'm a lot more so than my mother's side, the Merricks. So to be fair though, my grandfather on that side was very expressive with his feelings, and I know in retrospect, or at least I figured out in retrospect anyway, like thinking back on stuff about my Tasso, Cornish word for granddad. So yeah, I figured out that like Tasso probably had an anxiety disorder or would have been diagnosed as such in this day and age. And when he was like extra like anxious and panicky and all, like you get when you're having anxiety attacks, which he'd get periodically. I think this is a little bit... Oh my gosh, that does go right there, doesn't it? Yes, it does. Sweet. But yeah, he would go and just like end up speaking like straight up Cornish a lot of the times. Just, well, that's a bit of an oversimplification, but like his native language was sort of a pidgin of Cornish and English, and probably very particular to the village wherein he was raised. And whoa, I was actually a bit further along with this than I thought I was. I just didn't quite figure out how it was all supposed to fit together just yet last time. Okay. Where was I going with this? Cats, please. Please. Like, Murnau, just please stop being annoying. He is so annoying. He is so annoying right now. Like, Murnau has gotten legit annoying where I say shit that I thought my parents only said just to be cruel, like, I may love you, but I don't like you at all right now. Because, why was I saying this to Murnau this last week? Because Nigel was having some time on my lap. Nigel knows he's my favorite. I'm his favorite. Like, we go together, like Ramalama and Ding-a-ding-da-dong, right? He probably thinks I'm his husband. He probably thinks we're married. He probably thinks, like, every time I've had a guy over here, like a human man, he probably thinks that I make him watch, right? Even though Nigel watches completely of his own volition. After all, there are no doors separating my bed from the front room. So Nigel is watching, like, completely of his own volition, staring, kneading his paws, and purring very loudly. So, yeah. But yeah, like, Nigel and me were having our special Nigel time. You know, he's on my lap, and Murnau just straight up comes up out of fucking nowhere and practically pushes Nigel off my lap. Like, he knows if he, you know, like, stands in just the right way, Nigel will get frustrated and leave. So Murnau is pushing Nigel off my lap, like, most of this last week, which, considering the huge blow I got news-wise, Thursday or Friday, I don't even know what day it is anymore. I spent most of Thursday thinking it was Wednesday. So, yeah. Where was I going? Right. Puzzle. But yeah, so the thing with the thing. Right, Nigel. No. So the news I got that like I really wanted to stream that day. I really wanted to, at the time I set, but shortly after I set up the time and everything, I took my my lunchtime meds, which includes like my 5 milligram Adderall, quick release, you know, dissolving tablet thing. You know, whereas I take the extended release earlier in the day, like with breakfast. But yeah, so like my lunchtime meds, which includes a little tiny 5 milligram Dexy's Blue, right? That I just went right to sleep. I set up the stream time. I took my lunch meds. I took some lunch and then I just went right to sleep because it was just too much. It was just all too much for me that day. And I still need to talk to my aunt. That's something else that's been like really frustrating to me this last week is I still need to talk to my aunt. And she turns her phone off when she turns her phone off when she's busy. So like if she's cooking, if she's having a meal, obviously if she's sleeping, or at least she turns the ringer off or something to for like I don't know if she's got like a timer on the ringer that she sets when she's sleeping or not, but it's like she turns her phone off basically like whenever she's busy or whenever she is like hoping to not have to deal with a phone call, right? So like there are times where she has her phone out. I understand this, but at the same time, it is very frustrating when it's a family matter and I really, really want to speak to my aunt, if only because she is like one of only 2 people left right now who really understands like what a huge fucking blow my Friday news was. I'm just gonna say Friday at this point. I don't remember what day it is even today. So yeah, I Friday. Johnson's impeachment is really kind of based on that. It's based on his white supremacy. Oh, the joys of apartment living, right? So, yeah, Friday. We're saying Friday for the sake of simplicity. Friday, I spent several hours on the phone, only for the last call I got to be from a so yeah, I called Sam Bernstein because just asking for like basic like referrals and stuff. Like if they don't think they can handle it, like they'll send you a referral for free and all of that. So they're really good about that. And instead of music, instead of like preset like satellite radio or whatever when they put you on hold, they give you this like, it's sort of set up like a podcast about the family history, like going back to somebody's like grandfather, yeah, I think it was like Sam's maternal grandfather coming like emigrating from a Jewish shtetl in Germany or something. And so it's like I know almost as much about the family history as the Detroit Bernstein family themselves at this point. So that's a thing that happened. And then what happened? Then what happened was the final firm that I spoke to, because they were like, this is definitely something we can offer some advice on, but we're gonna refer you to somebody who has a better understanding of this area of legal expertise, which is great. Like like if you can refer me to somebody who at least knows what they're doing, that's good. That's good. Like so far, I was still in a good mood, right? Right. Yes. Let's just say that at that point, I was still in a generally good mood. And then I got that last call that pissed me off so much that the last time I posted to my own Facebook timeline was simply ACAB, selected feeling as defeated, and I don't think I've posted to my own Facebook timeline since. I think I posted something to Instagram, maybe. I don't know. I spent the weekend in kind of a haze of sorts, just because the reason I made such a post is because in Michigan, the law is literally designed to protect the police. So, like, even if even if my sister had hit and injured, like not even killed, but hit and injured a pedestrian, right? So like 9:30 p.m. I got the timeline from Mama Norma because that woman's mind is like a steel trap. Like, oh my gosh, like she remember, like I saw her like just like because when I spent like my unintended weekend, it was supposed to be an overnight, but it ended up being like a shorter weekend visit. So yeah, when I was over there last week, I there was this friend of my sister's who was practically harassing me to find out like if and when there was going to be any kind of memorial service for my sister. Like she's getting really pushy about it at some point. And I'm giving her the polite brush off that everybody, like, or at least that everybody in the Midwest is raised to, accept politely. So either she was not originally born and raised in Michigan, as her Facebook alleges, or her parents didn't raise her right. Because, when I say, I'm sure, you are grieving in your own way, but, but I don't know you, and while I do know the conditions under which Ruby's, my sister's car accident happened, I am not comfortable telling somebody who I think is a stranger, because like I don't know you. And at first I said, and my sister's mom doesn't even know who you are, like, but like maybe 5 minutes, and this woman is like, you can like all but see the gears turning in her head as she's trying to remember this girl's name, and she's like, oh, that's right, never mind, I do know who she is, but I never met her, right? And this girl is like acting like all super concerned about my sister's mom too. So I'm just like, I don't know who this person is. I'd never heard of her before that day last week, right? And like the first time I ever have a chat with her, she's just being really fucking pushy about trying to get information from me about some kind of memorial or funeral service for my sister. And I'm like, just like, honey, I don't know who you are. Like you're saying you're one of my sister's best friends, and I've never heard of you. Her own mother barely remembers who you are, and even then, like, admits that she's never met you. So, like, I'm sorry, but it seems a little odd that you're being extra super concerned about everything, and you're just like, and I said, like, even, when there is a service, it is going to be very small. We're talking, 10 people tops, mostly family. And I say to her, if you truly do want to honor my sister's life, you will donate your time and or money. I even say and or money, time and or money, or whatever resources, like, clean out your pantry shelving or something, and like donate whatever you can to, like, the local women's shelter in Lenawee County, or to mental health services, like, just that is how you can honor my sister's life right now. This is like what we're telling people who are not going to be part of any small family service, because it is a fucking public health crisis, right? So yeah, that chick just went off on me, and I caught her in a couple of lies too. Like, oh my god, she tried insisting that she knew when my sister died before I did. She's saying, oh, I knew way before you did. I knew the night she died. And the time and day that she's giving me when she learned that my sister died was something like, it was the 7th of February. So we're talking like almost a week later, because my sister died on the 2nd. So we're talking like 5 days later, she gets news that my sister died. And she's saying, see, it was like 10:45 in the evening. And I'm like, first off, I say to her, first off, my sister died on Groundhog Day, right? My sister died on number 2 of February, not number 5, right? Not number 7, right? The second, not 7th, right? Like you're telling me that you knew almost a week later, and yet somehow this was way before I even knew. Like, I'm like, honey, like, I've got the voicemail from Mama Norma. Like, this was like maybe 10 minutes, that she called and left me a voicemail while I was doing my show, right? So, after my, like during my show, she calls and leaves me a voicemail, and because this is going, and I usually turn off the ringer, like if I'm not streaming, my show, or like, when I wasn't streaming my show. Where does this go? This looks like it goes somewhere very specific. But yeah, so I'm like, you're not even giving me the right day, right? You're not even giving me the right day, and you're trying to say you knew about this way before I did, but, like, the information you're giving me is very much having nothing to do with the, day and or time my sister passed away, right? So it's like, honey, just do whatever you want, but you're not invited to any services as far as I know. So clearly, like, oh God. And she's like, oh, well, your sister stayed at my place for 2 days because she didn't have anywhere to live. And I'm like, she did have somewhere to live. She was just too embarrassed to come home to her mother, like, on a bender, right? That doesn't mean she has nowhere to live. Don't bullshit me. Don't bullshit me, right? I'm gonna tell you like my dad told me. Don't bullshit me. Like, I've done it. I've seen it, and I've probably got the T-shirt somewhere. But I have 3 cats, so damned if I know where that is. But seriously, puzzle piece, you don't want to go here, but you look like you go here. Why do you look like you go here, but you don't? This is frustrating to me. Oh, there we go. Okay. It sort of went there. Where was I? Right. So yeah, the News Friday. Yeah. Because all I said on Facebook over the weekend was ACAB. And that is because, like, even if so, as I began many times before, like when I, before I started going off about, oh gosh, I swear there's got to be a Florida man, Florida woman, Michigan man, Michigan woman exchange program, because Best X has taken in like at least 3 wayward Floridians in Lansing that I know of, right? Like, either they were originally from Michigan and they were in Florida for a while, or, they were originally from Florida, but they've got some friends in Michigan and they need to leave Florida for a number of reasons, right? I swear we've got an exchange program, because I'm tired of this shit already. But where was I? Right. So 9:30 on Groundhog Day, my sister was pulled over by Tecumseh City Police, and they could clearly see that she was drunk. She was boasting to her mother after she came in that, the cop definitely saw like a bottle of vodka on top of her purse and, let her go anyway, in spite of the fact that Michigan is allegedly a zero-tolerance state for DUI, but I guess that doesn't matter if you're a cop. So, and the reason I say this doesn't matter if you're a cop, I will get to in a second. So, 9:30, like, she's told, just to stay home, which, anybody doing their job right as a matter of public safety would know that a drunk person will probably stay home at most half as long as they really should before they're good to drive again. At the most, right? Half as long as they should, right? Because we're all very logical, reasonable people when we've been drinking. So, of course, and I say this sarcastically. I say this as somebody who last week was drinking wine out of a can, right? I am drinking canned wine last week. Okay, so so if I'm telling you that, you know, the average drunk person, when told to stay home, to stay off the road and stay safe, you know, for everybody, you know, instead of being hauled off in the, you know, to spend a night in the drunk tank, the average drunk will stay home no more than half as long as they realistically should. And that is like best case scenario. So yeah, sister stayed home and got into a fight with her mother, which I guess is expected because drunk, right? Of course. And shortly around 10:30, sister decided that she was going to go back driving. Okay, this looks exactly like it goes in the Raggedy Ann game. But why won't it fit? It should fit. It looks like it will fit. God, I love that goddamn, excuse me, surreal as fuck Raggedy Ann movie. I know people say that it's just got way too much music for a film of its length, that it's surreal in a creepy, discomforting way, but I've always kind of loved it for that reason. Really? I tried it that way like 4 times. What the hell, thing? Okay. So yeah, like shortly after 10:30, sister left again. Sister, you know, had a fight with her mother and left the apartment again. So like if she's barely able to stand when the cop tells her to just like go home and stay home, right, for the night, you know, like wait, you need more than an hour before you're good to drive again, at the very least, right? You know, like you're told to stay home while you can barely stand. An hour's not gonna dry you out enough to, you know, be safe on the road, right? Of course. Any reasonable person would know this, but your average drunk is not a reasonable person. And that's one of the reasons that I don't drink that much. I mean, yes, I do drink, but like my aunt kind of like considers me as a non-drinker because while I technically do drink, I don't drink that much, right? So like by the standards she's used to, I'm basically a non-drinker, right? Yeah, I like you know, I do like a cocktail when I go out, you know, to the club. There's a couple hard ciders I like. As far as beers go, I really love lambics. But there's not a whole lot of other kinds of beers that I'm really into. It's the hoppy taste, right? That's why I like lambics, because it smells like a beer, but it tastes like juice, right? That's what I love about lambics. It smells like beer, it tastes like juice. What can go wrong? Unless you have 7. But that's another story for another time. So sister's accident was somewhere in the area of 11:15 that evening. County sheriff brought back sister's purse to sister's mother at 11:45. So anybody with any sense in their head can see that if the Tecumseh City Police was doing his job right as a matter of public safety, he would have brought my sister in on DUI. This could have saved her life for at least one more night, right? At least one more night. But no. That is not how Michigan law works. That is not how the Michigan legal system works concerning these so-called peace officers, because like even if my sister had like swerved into a pedestrian or something and like caused, you know, like serious injury, but she had died, I don't know, like we're talking hypotheticals, like almost anything is possible in a hypothetical, at least if you stick to basic earth logic and technicalities, right? So, you know, say hypothetically that there was an accident that, left my sister, that yes, she still died, but a pedestrian was very badly injured. According to Michigan law, that is that, like, assuming everything else was identical to how my sister's last night alive went, the cops still would have had no part of the blame. Like, nobody would say, yes, everybody in the world operating on Earth logic, everybody in Michigan operating on Earth logic would say, why isn't the cop legally to blame for this? Because he knew she was drinking earlier in the night. He knew that your average drunk is probably not going to listen, for very long, is probably not going to take the advice, the way they should. And as a matter of public safety, you should take this person in so that they are not posing us a risk of harm to themselves or others. But, according to Michigan law, well, if he let her go and she went behind the wheel anyway, that's still her fault. And I'm like, her judgment was impaired because she was drunk. Like, and the lawyer said, yes, I absolutely agree with you. He said that he absolutely agrees with me that, that if he knew that there was any way to even get my sister's funerary expenses covered for this, like minus his legal fee. Like, we're not even talking about like my hope for, like a small sum to put in a trust for little niece, right? We're not even talking about that. We're talking, like he said, if there was any way to even seek the financial damages for your sister's funerary expenses, we're not talking anything else, like, with her mother, he said my stepmother, but I'm like, I let it go. It's close enough, right? So he's like, your sister and your stepmother, like, like if there was a way that I could like not even talk about, your stepmother's living expenses, he's telling me, like, until she moves into the, the senior apartments. He's saying like if there was a way to even get like, what did you say? Like the $400 difference left over for her crematory expenses. He said, if there was any way I thought that could happen, I would take this pro bono, right? So like, he's not even thinking about his own legal expenses. He is saying that, that I am welcome to go see if I can find anybody gutsy enough to take this pro bono, but, and, he offered to stay in touch if I could, and, so he could light a candle, and all that, because, I mean, Catholic, okay, fine. I'm not opposed to that. Could use all the help I get. Like I'm not. Their God is not for me, but I'm not gonna turn away those who honor him. But yeah. He said if there's any way that we could get even that much, right? I would take this pro bono. If you want to find somebody gutsy enough to try, be my guest. Keep in touch if that's the case. Just because clearly they'd be very young and headstrong. But yeah. So in Michigan, a cop is allowed to indirectly cause somebody's death by simply doing nothing, even if everybody else in the world would say, no, he should have been doing his job right. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter because he has a badge. It doesn't matter because he has a badge. My gosh. Like this is why I understand why so many of my friends just kind of roll my eyes at me when I start gushing about Law and Order and how, and how like I'm the only person I know under the age of 60 who has very much likely seen literally every episode of the Law and Order franchise a minimum of once, right? And they're just like, it's just such an idealized thing. It's practically propaganda for cops. And I'm like, yeah, I understand that it shows an idealized, that it shows like that it disproportionately shows cops doing their job right? That it disproportionately shows the legal system working in favor of the victims. And I'm talking like way back, like, like we're talking LNO Prime, TOS, whatever you want to call it, right? Like not, oh gosh, I know SVU is like even more egregious of like showing off like absolute best case scenario. This is how it would work in an ideal world. But you gotta hand it to Mariska Hargitay because she works her ass off in her own time, like, because, and she says it's because like so many fans of the show said that like, like I like they will write her fan letters, like email or snail mail. I'm sure she still gets some of those saying like, oh my gosh, like, there was an episode and it was so much like what I went through and I can finally, confront this in therapy or something. And like, so it's like, so she's taken it upon herself to work her ass off, just like, to like try and get, like, the legal systems in various parts of the United States to actually like do good by victims, right? Like you can't fault that woman for trying. Like she's a treasure. She's a treasure. Like say what you will about her acting skills. I think my sister, she was a little bisexual, like not the whole like, stereotype of like the 50-50 even, but she would get kind of gushy about Mariska Hargitay. And Mariska Hargitay like seems to be like this woman loving woman like gateway for so many people, right? They've inserted so much dialogue in that show between her and like other women characters where that they are teasing their audience about like Olivia Benson being a lesbian or at least bisexual with a very strong preference, right? Oh my gosh, they tease the audience with that so much. And yet I keep watching anyway. But yeah, like, like his sister was like convinced that Mariska Hargitay was like one of the greatest actresses who ever lived, definitely who's ever been on television. And I'm sitting thinking to myself, well, she's definitely a better actress than her mother was, because, I mean, let's admit, the main reason people know about Jane Manson's acting career is because she was very much about the voluptuousness, I suppose you could call it, right? That, I mean, yeah, unlike Marilyn Monroe, her career spanned the 60s. Like Marilyn Monroe, she died tragically young. And, oh gosh. Yeah, Mickey Hargitay, her husband. It was so long before he remarried, too. I honestly think she was the love of his life. I think those two were just, like, you read about them, and it's just, like... and I don't know, it's just so adorable, right? In a sense. But yeah, like I said, like, say what you will about Mariska Hargitay as an actress, I think she does a fairly serviceable job acting as that character. I mean, this has been like yeah, she's been Officer Benson for, gosh, I want to say she was in her mid-30s when she started doing that. Yeah, so like almost half of her life, right? Yeah, she's been portraying Benson for almost half of her life at this point. So yeah, she's definitely got a handle down on that one character at the very least. But like I said, like as far as her acting chops go, I'm like, she's better than her mother. She's definitely a better actress than her mother was. And like I said, I'm not saying that to like trash talk Jane Mansfield. I would not be surprised if some of the people that I used to know from when I was like, like very much into Anton LaVey, I still kind of have a soft spot for for his later writings, when he's just he gets fucking hilarious. So a lot of his later writings, which was like some of his favorite, like, you know, when he was alive, he's just like, he is at some point during his life, he was just like, yeah, you know, I wrote the like Satanic Bible and all that. You know, it was kind of it was kind of a joke, you know, to me at the time. You know, he's like, yeah, it's still solid in some ways, but you know, then, you know, like, but I think my essays later, you know, that was his favorite stuff. That was his favorite stuff. And I kind of agree with him because he gets fucking hilarious sometimes. He's just such a crotchety old man. He's just such a crotchety old man. And yes, I know about like his sordid history and all of that. Satanic Bible is good. The Satanic Bible is, I think I summed it up one time as saying, like, think about like the better parts of the Fountainhead, because there's no part of the Fountainhead that's truly good, right? But it is a much, it is a slightly more I'd say relative to Atlas Shrugged, the Fountainhead is much more relatable, but I still think Rourke needs to be punched in the mouth, right? Like, I'm much more sympathetic to him, just like, you know, like as an artist with an inflated sense of his own abilities. So I kind of have a soft spot for that, right? But at the same time, like, she's the most insufferable. She wrote the most insufferable characters. But yeah, like, I would sum up the Satanic Bible as like, take some of the better parts of the Fountainhead, right? Take some of the better parts of the Fountainhead, take some of the more serviceable parts of like Telema, and take like a Cliff's Notes and, you know, Complete Idiot's Guide to Nietzsche, right? And kind of like randomly shuffle pages together, and you've got the Satanic Bible. Except the Satanic Bible kind of is a more fluid read than if you were to do that. But yeah, like I said, I've got a soft spot for his later writings. I know, like, what a problematic character he was in life. I have accepted that. And I have moved on with my life, right? Like, I'm just like, you know, I was really into his stuff about this time, but not so much lately. But I still have a soft spot for these parts. And yes, I know, like, everything that's, like, you know, that could be called a moral or, you know, ethical failing of his. I understand this. I accept that. I can move on with my life. Yes, it was quite influential on me at one point in my life, but where was I going with that? Oh, right, Jane Mansfield. Jane Mansfield, the thing. Hold on. I'm trying to figure out where the hell I was going with this, because, let's see. Satanic Bible, Jane Mansfield. All right, Hargitay. Right. Okay, so yeah, like, I understand that, like, you know, what's that called? Law and Order. This is a very idealized thing. And I'm at a point in my life where I'm old enough to understand that, like, not just intellectually, but, like, on a deeper, moral understanding. I understand that this is very idealized. This is very much fiction. This is portraying the American justice system, especially as it exists in Manhattan. This is like portraying like best case scenarios. This is portraying like how things should ideally go. It is not portraying how things usually go. It is saying, so like, you can, I can understand people who want to call this kind of propagandistic then, because, you know, I mean, look at like the whole, like, you know, BLM movement, which, you know, hashtag BLM support, right? You know, hashtag I support BLM. I mean, this also means that I accept that Joe Biden is President Honky Night, because, you know, like, this is like my one regret of Twitter. The whole time I've been on Twitter something like 10 years. It told me that sometime recently. So yeah, like, in the whole 10 years I've been on Twitter, I am really disappointed with some combination of myself and the people who follow me on Twitter that my comment from like something like 6, maybe 7 years ago about Joe Biden, that I was saying something like, Joe Biden is, because this was when he was still vice president. I was saying like, you can tell that Joe Biden is Barack Obama's friend that he takes as his +1 to honky night at the jazz club. I am really disappointed in myself that didn't go viral, because it makes, like, just look at the man. Just look at the man. He is president honky night. Like, you know, like, bring yourself a honky to the jazz club and get in free by make him pay. right. He is president honky night. You cannot unconvince me of that. And so yeah, like, I know he's president honky night at the jazz club, but at the same time, it's like, yeah, well, where was I going? Right. Black Lives Matter. Right. Yeah, slow on earth. So it's like, yeah, like we see, like, honky night, is that? No. It's an old comedy bit. I thought it was Richard Pryor. I thought it was Cheech and Chong. It was on a record. My dad had. I tried looking for it on YouTube, thinking somebody would have uploaded it, right? You know, but like I thought it was Cheech and Chong for the longest time. And I looked it up. I looked up Cheech and Chong honky night, and that only turned up like a remix. You know, like it turned up like a DJ mix somebody did with some clips from that, but like not the whole thing. And it didn't really sound like either Cheech Marin or Tommy Chong. So this is gonna be like one of those things that's somebody's gonna have to rock me to sleep over this eventually, because it's gonna drive me nuts, like trying to figure out who the hell did that and on what record. I can't remember the last time I tried searching Richard Pryor honky night. But yeah, like, you can find bits of it. It clearly exists, but damned if I remember who the hell did it. Other than, like, my dad had a record of it. My dad also had a shit ton of Cosby records. You know, that was before everybody knew about that. But then again, like, at the same time, I'm like, I remember in the 90s when that, there was a woman who was, who brought up charges, or no, she went to the news, or I don't remember the whole deal. And it's one of those things where I will, like, rack my brain trying to figure out, like, okay, what were the other details here that I'm missing, like, right? But yeah, so I'm like trying to figure out the details of this, and but then what? So I'm trying to figure out the thing, and where was I going? Oh, right. Yeah, Cosby, like, there, like, I don't know how there were people who were surprised. Like, I was disappointed, but I wasn't surprised, because there was a time in the 90s. Right, yeah, that's where I was going. That this woman, I can't remember if she went to the press or if she brought formal, like, legal charges or something alleging paternity, and it was proven paternity, and he tried to brush it off to the press as, well, yeah, I had a little rendezvous with her mother. I kind of remember this, I think. And then there was the fact that he fired Lisa Bonet from The Cosby Show because she got pregnant. And he didn't think that the audience would be receptive to a pregnant college freshman. And I'm like, honey, do you have any idea, like, how many, like, shit, there was a great example on Frasier, where they worked around Jane Leeve's pregnancy. Like, so her real life pregnancy, they worked it into the script as Daphne Moon having put on a lot of weight from stress. And so then, like, she goes to some kind of like therapy retreat, you know, for a couple weeks, wherein, like, in real life, Jane Leeves has the baby, and she comes back, and, you know, she's and she's lost you know, substantial amount of weight because, you know, we're working in that, like, you know, extra time has passed, right? So yeah, like you can work that, you can work around that. Like there's another, oh shit. I'm brain farting on who it was now. I'm brain farting on who it was. There was some actress. It was on a popular television show, which I know really narrows it down, right? But yeah, like they ended up, was this Lucille Ball? Was this one of Lucy's shows? I don't remember now. What the hell? Why is this escaping me? But yeah, like they would shoot, like any scenes with her, like they would shoot with like no, this wasn't a Lucille Ball show. This was not. This is a much more modern one. I want to say like 80s, maybe early to mid 90s. What the hell? And but yeah, like they shot all of her scenes where like there was like furniture or a book like strategically placed where you know, where she was showing in her pregnancy. So I'm thinking to myself, and I was thinking to myself, like even in junior high, and I was talking to some other kids about that it just seemed really weird that he would fire her for that reason, because because I was pointing out that, like, you know, there have been pregnant TV actresses before her who have worked around their pregnancy with, you know, with shooting, you know, with the shooting schedule, right? Like, there was no reason that Denise Huxtable had to be pregnant just because Lisa Bonet was pregnant, right? So the fact that he fired her over that just shows, like, a complete disrespect for a woman's ownership of her own sexuality. And I know I'm sounding like completely Andrea Dworkin mode right now, but I'm like, no, like that's, there's no other way to explain that. Is like, he did not respect her enough as a person to have ownership of her own sexuality that he went as far as firing her from the show. It was something like 3 years before she got back on. Maybe only 2. But yeah, it was like 2 or 3 years before she finally got back on. Because the audience loved her. The audience loved her. They wanted Denise Huxtable back. So, you know, like, they wrote her out of A Different World. She barely finished the first season of that. And that show just, like, went in its own direction. I love the direction it went in. It was just, like, so politically conscious. And I see, oh my gosh, I hate bringing this up, especially, like, giving the Cosby scandal that has come to light for many people in recent years, even though all the signs were there. I don't know why there were people who were surprised, disappointed, sure, but you shouldn't have been surprised. He was clearly, you know, he was clearly only paying lip service to, you know, having respect for women and, you know, obviously black women in his own goddamn community. He was only paying lip service to this, and you could tell that from, you know, how he goddamn tanked Lisa Bonet from her own show that he fucking gave her and wrote around her character. But, you know, she does what any married woman would do. She wanted to have a baby, so she and her husband at the time, Lenny Kravitz, oh my god, she loves long-haired pretty boys, doesn't she? She does. Because now she's with Jason Momoa. Oh my gosh. I'm so jealous. I'm so jealous. Like, women and gay men everywhere are so goddamn jealous. Oh my gosh. But I digress. But yeah, it's like, all the signs were there. Everybody, like, nobody should have been surprised by that. Nobody should have been surprised when, you know, when his history of abuse came to light. Be disappointed. Please don't be surprised. Please don't be surprised. If you are still somehow surprised that, like, you know, like, are there still victims of his coming forward? It wouldn't surprise me. It would disappoint me, of course. But yeah, like, it shouldn't be surprising to anybody. Like, all the signs were there. Every sign was there. like I said, he goddamn designed a show around Lisa Bonet's character, and then immediately fired her from it when she did what any other pregnant woman would do, or any other married woman would do. You know, your average cisgender, ostensibly heterosexual woman anyway, or, you know, like bi with the cishet husband, at least, right? You know, like she did what many people in her situation would have done was, you know, you get married, you're really super in love. You've always imagined yourself like having a family of some sort, even if you have your career alongside the family. And you go in, you do squishy things with genitals and you make a family, right? Because that's how it works. But no, he had zero respect for her humanity as a person, as, you know, the woman she was. So he's just like, no, you're doing shit with your body that I don't want to have to deal with on the show I wrote for, you know, that I worked and created for you and your character. So no. So I'm like, yeah, like this should not have surprised people. I can understand people being disappointed. I can understand people grieving. Like a friend of mine, oh my God, she grieved so hard when all of this came to light. And I had to hold my tongue, because I'm a grown ass man and I'm being tactful, right? You know, so I'm holding my tongue about, you know, like, you really shouldn't be surprised, friend. I mean, look at how he treated Lisa Bonet. And like, even like, you know, during all that, like she has since come forward and said, yeah, he was a total lech behind the scenes too, made me very uncomfortable. I wasn't exactly, you know, thrilled about being fired from a different world when it happened, but on the same time, I was kind of relieved, but at the same time, she wanted her job back, so it's like very complicated feelings. I understand that. She's allowed to have them. Anybody in that situation, you know, would have very complicated feelings. It's like, right? But where was I going with this? Like, yeah, like nobody should have been surprised by that. If you were, it's okay to be that naive and that trusting, but you know, you gotta understand where I'm coming from. That I don't know. I was just like, I've been putting this all together about him pretty much since like 5th grade, 6th grade, something like that. So I'd kind of been like putting those pieces of it all together, like since about like, yeah, since at least 5th, maybe 6th grade, that you know, that yes, he worked his ass off to portray himself as, you know, like America's dad. Like that is how the US in the 1980s up to like 93 or something regarded the Cosby Show. And, you know, Cosby himself is because like he worked his ass off to like be this like cuddly, you know, paternal type figure. You know, like I said, like you can like look up like the TV Guide cover archives, and you know, you'd see a few of them, you know, like America's Dad, something, talks about the thing and the stuff. And, you know, so yeah, like that makes it all the more despicable that he turned out the way he did. But at the same time, it's like, it was kind of like all out there in plain sight for so long, that it just says to me something about like how innocent a lot of people, even well into adulthood, still can be. Because like I said, it was all out in plain sight for decades, basically. Like, it was in plain sight. It was hidden in plain sight. And for decades. It was hidden in plain sight for decades. And James Charles, fetishism, straight man, and adults, 21 plus. The James Charles thing. Okay, first off, that is, there are so many layers to that. and D'Angelo Wallace did a really, really good breakdown of so much that is wrong with that drama from, was that last year? 2019, some amount of 2020? But yeah, like there's so much wrong with all of that that went down with that. So the whole like fetishization of straight men, I'm like, oh, there it goes. Okay. That's the whole thing with like gay men fetishizing straight. Oh my god. Okay, first off, that doesn't carry anywhere near the that doesn't carry anywhere near the sociological weight as the way, say, cis-het men fetishize lesbianism, right? It really doesn't carry the same weight. It doesn't carry the same, I mean, it doesn't even carry the same weight as straight women fetishizing gay men, right? It doesn't. It simply doesn't carry the same weight. So, like, but at the same time, it is such a bizarre cultural boogeyman of sorts that Tati Westbrook knew what she was doing. And she knew what she was doing when she said that. And she knew exactly what she was doing. She knew how much harm that would cause. And she knew the visceral reaction that most people were going to have to making that kind of allegation against a young, still teenage. Like, wasn't he still, like, 19? Wasn't he, like, 18, 19 when all that shit went down whenever? Over a year ago at this point. So, she knew exactly what she was doing. She knew exactly what she was doing. She knew the weight of homophobia and what that was going to bring to him. She knew exactly what she was doing. She knew that she was going to be causing him so much more harm than he ever posed to any ostensibly heterosexual young man. Okay? She knew that she could harm him so much more by doing that, by making those allegations. So, there's been new allegations. I don't care, right? I don't care. Because socially, it just does not carry the same weight. It does not carry the same weight. It just doesn't. Like, I don't care. It just does not carry the same weight. That's like, it carries the same weight as, like, I don't know, I'm going to use an example of, from Futurama last night, because that seems to be my go-to for when everything is driving me nuts. Oh my fucking god, I love that show. And, I was talking earlier in the stream about how Murnau has been just fucking rude to Nigel, and I'm saying things to him that I thought my parents only said to be cruel, but yeah, so it's like, oh my gosh, like, Nigel got right up on my lap at the beginning of Jurassic Park a couple nights ago. He just, like, got right up on my lap, and it's like he knows this episode, he knows that episode, and he knows what that episode does to me. But I digress. So yeah, I was gonna use an analogy from there. So it's like, I don't know what the hell this new James Charles drama is all about, but, you know, I don't know. Just because I'm at a loss for names, let's just say Jason Momoa. Let's just say, hypothetically, you know, James Charles and Jason Momoa, they're like, you know, whenever the allegation happened, like, they were out dancing, like you do when you're a human, right? And, you know, so, like, I don't know, was this finger James Charles? Let's say yes, because this is left. No, wait, right is wrong, because, okay. Oh my god, I'm so fucking old. Like, the whole earring code, like back in the 80s. So yes, like that's just how old I am. That's why like this is the one that I'm constantly in my right ear. That is even why I briefly had a period where I tried stretching out the main hole in my right lobe, while leaving the left side, just regular size. But humans dance. Oh shit! Right, yeah. Like you do when you're a human, right? Like you don't always dance very well, but you try to. At least most people anyway. I mean, I'm sure there are some people who don't like dancing. I would like to know like who harmed their soul in that way. And if they say nobody, I'll just be like, okay, I guess I have no reason not to take your word for it, but that still sounds odd to me. But okay, you do you, hun, and you're allowed to be strange. I'm strange enough myself, so, if anybody knows how people are allowed to be strange, it would be some dipshit like me, right? So, yeah, hypothetical. Let's just, I don't know. I don't know anything about this. I have the most bonkers-ass, way I watch YouTube videos, so I don't really keep up on the quote-unquote drama of the YouTube community. So yeah, like I don't know, like I said, hypothetically, like James Charles, Jason Momoa, and let's say this was like a year and a half ago, whatever, and like James Charles is like oonce, 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 and Momoa's like, oh my gosh, but and now like if as uncomfortable as that might have been, like, in my hypothetical little, like, finger man dancing here, as uncomfortable as that might have been, the reign of homophobia and homophobic attacks that would be brought upon James Charles by and see, this is such a difficult topic. This is such a difficult topic because on one hand, like, I'm sure there are people gonna accuse me of just like even trying to explain as far as I can, because I'm not a sociologist, like, right? I'm not a sociologist. In fact, like, my plans to go back to school, I seriously want my major in music and language arts, specifically Welsh. That is like, I would like to, like, if I could unlearn English for Welsh, I would in a heartbeat. Like I would, right? So yeah, like that is my passion. That is what I know about. I know about music. I know about language arts, right? So I do have an interest in philosophy. I do have an interest in sociopolitical topics, but this is not my passion. So yes, anything I have to say about it will sound a bit clunkier than somebody who has made that their passion in education, right? So that's just a thing. That's just a thing. I love how articulate. Oh, really? You think my off-the-cuff ramblings are articulate? Okay. I accept that as the compliment it was intended to be. I don't know why you think that, but I also don't know why my cat loves why especially not, well, actually I kind of can make sense out of why Nigel loves me, because I saved him from the big scary outside, and he cannot poop outside like an animal would. I think I mentioned Nigel's origin story into my life in one of my older videos, something like Meet the Kitties. Should be easily found in my YouTube videos, but where was I going? Right. So the whole like, I understand that victims need a voice. It's part of the healing process. It's part of the healing process. And I say this as somebody who has suffered some really serious domestic abuse at the hands of family members, yes, that counts as some form of familial / domestic abuse. Okay, that's like, at least in certain jurisdictions, that's how it's written. So yes, I have been through some serious abuse. I understand that being able to talk about it is a part of the healing process. At the same time, humans are very social creatures. Like, we are aggressively social creatures to an extent, like when compared to many other species, right? Like, even compared to many other social species. And there are a lot of very social species of animals, but like, if you were to put like social animals on a spectrum from like, barely non-solitary to OMG, wow, God, must be with, must be with my people at all times, like how fish will school together and all that. Humans are like maybe here. So like, this is max. Humans are about here. Like humans and dogs. Humans and dogs, like specifically wolves and dingoes that our domestic doggos have descended and are a subspecies of, right? So, yeah, that's a fun fact. Modern domestic dog DNA actually contains more in common with Australian dingoes than with the Eurasian gray wolf, as is commonly that is like the inverse of what's commonly believed. That yes, there are many dog breeds that contain a lot of Eurasian gray wolf DNA, or like that can be ultimately traced to the Eurasian gray wolf, right? Like, they have a lot of genetic characteristics that can be, but then there's a lot of other dog breeds that definitely contain more dingo. But that's another story for another time. I've been Ruadhán, and your guide to the world of facts, because right, I was going on this, right? So yeah, like the as uncomfortable as it may be for an ostensibly heterosexual man to be sexually harassed, even relatively mildly, like persistent flirting at a club, right? That can be regarded as sexual harassment in some ways anyway. So yeah, like, as uncomfortable as that may be, given the way that human communities structure ourselves, and especially current Western society, which is very patriarchal, which is very much which is very much focused on the quote unquote patriarchal male gaze, which is that of your which is which, like I said, in like sociology, philosophical topics, that's like your average cisgender heterosexual, ostensibly white, ostensibly middle class man aged 18 to 40, right? So yes, right, yeah. So so like, as uncomfortable as that may be, right? Your discomfort from that position has so much power, right? And thinking about it, yeah, like, I don't know, like let's go back to yeah, like so like I brought I like in my little hypothetical, because I have no idea what the hell is going on with the YouTube makeup and drama community and all that. I have no idea what's going on, because I have had a huge disdain for pop culture since I was like 13 or 14. At about that age, I literally just like I like stopped listening to top 40 radio. I stopped paying attention to like popular trends and stuff. Like I said, I've had a complete disdain for pop culture since early teens, like since junior high. So I have been out of the loop on so many things for most of my life. Even as a teenager, even as, like, do you want to know, like, I had no idea what the fuck Hanson was for most of the first year. They were a huge thing, right? You know, the Hanson brothers, yeah, the three brothers from Oklahoma, I think. If I'm correct, the only reason I know that is because I have some friends from Oklahoma. Yeah. So yeah, like I said, if I remembered that correctly, that's why, because, like, you know, it's like local culture there, and like I know local history to the Metro Detroit area. So where was I going? Right. So yeah, it's like it was almost a year before I knew what the hell Hanson was. It was almost a year. Like they were saturating the radio apparently for almost a year before I had any fucking clue what the hell this was. I really had no idea. I was like, I think I was like 16 or something. So like, you know, a little bit like I think they were being marketed towards people a little bit younger than I was at the time, but I love that you didn't know. I really did. I have mixed feelings about how out of the loop I've been most of my life regarding pop culture. Like, really, like, I have probably been saturated with more pop culture via YouTube over the last 2 years than I had been since I was 13, like from the age of 13 until about 2 years ago. And it's all because of YouTube. It's all because of YouTube. Like, yes, I do watch some new shows on TV, but it's because either I discovered it by accident, which is how I started watching Rick and Morty, or because, like, Hulu's recommending it to me based on the shows that I already like. And even then, I mostly stick to old reruns of stuff because, well, especially this last year and a half, because TV reruns seems to be something that I do to self-soothe. But that's another story for another time. So, yeah, like I said, I've had a complete disdain for pop culture. I have no idea what the fuck is going on with James Charles and any sort of new allegations against him. But I do know, as a gay man, and as James Charles is a fellow gay man, that any sociopolitical power he may have through his ostensible wealth, like, I don't know what the hell his estimated worth is, but I know he's got a lot of, like, makeup contracts that I've seen. Like, I see his face all over Ulta when I used to go get my eyebrows waxed. I've gone to plucking because, like, technically they are making appointments for brow waxing at Ulta again, but they aren't giving the reminder calls anymore, and that was like a huge part. That was a huge part of me actually going to my appointments. So it's like,
society is built around the interactions between men and women, and so it's not surprising they would have quite a formalized.
So yeah, like I said, I have no idea what the hell's going on with this, but I do know that, you know, say that the person making the allegations is indeed a cisgender heterosexual man of whatever, you know, race and social class. I don't know. We're just speaking very broadly here for a moment because I have no idea what the hell is going on with anything at any time. I really don't. And like I said, I have very mixed feelings about the fact that I have been out of the loop on pop culture for about 30 years now. Yeah, I've been out of the loop on pop culture for about 30 years. Like, goddamn, like, oh my gosh, my aunt was teasing me, like, week and a half ago when, she was She was teasing me like a week and a half ago. Like, I'm watching Jeopardy with my aunt and my sister mama, and one of the categories was pop culture. And like I said, my aunt was teasing me. She's like, "Oh, you should know everything here." And I'm like, "Oh my gosh, Aunt Karen, I literally, like, I stopped even like listening to top 40 radio like when I was like 13, right?" She says, "Uh-huh." And she knew more than I did. This 73-year-old woman knew about the goddamn no, not BTO. That's Bachman Turner Overdrive. They were in the 70s, right? The Korean kids, right? She knew about that. 73-year-old woman knows about like Korean boy band shit, and I don't. I have no idea. If I was 14, I would have no idea. That's just me. That's just how I've been. Like I said, like most of my life at this point. To some extent, I kind of blame my parents that I literally cannot relate to people my age. Like that's probably a big reason that like so many people thought I was older when I was like still 19 or something. BTS. See, BTS. I don't know what the hell. I almost said GTOs, but that would have been even far more wrong because that was a girl group put together by Frank Zappa. My mother auditioned for that. And then she got knocked up. So my mother was almost a member of the GTOs, but then Zappa said, "Even I can't sell a pregnant groupie." So, and he's not wrong. I doubt he could. Where the hell? Hold on. Puzzle piece overboard. What the shit?
If society progresses 1 inch, reactionaries are going to use the children as a shield. The ancients among us might remember it wasn't that long ago that was the argument used against gay marriage.
How am I supposed to explain to my child?
Hang your shit child for all I care. McKaylee will just have to figure out how to navigate a world where the gays are allowed to kiss in public on our own. Did you steal my shit? I want to steal your shit. So what people hear when they see these very intellectually honest thinkers decrying the cancellation of J.K. Rowling is that all Joanne said was that biological sex is real and that trans people are being mean to her on the internet because she was just stating a simple
What the hell happened to my...
And all this stems from an essay Joanne wrote back in June called...
Oh, God. Like, I had... the only reason I knew what Twilight was the first year is because... because vampires were still kind of popular with goths at the time, and everybody was like legit offended at the notion of sparkly vampires. So yeah, like that's the only reason I knew about Twilight the first year. But yeah, and even that was like still like being like focused like way younger than, and honestly, I probably like even when I was a vampire obsessed baby bat at age like 13 or 14, I would like to think that even Twilight would just seem way too fucking hokey and stupid to appeal to me, right? I suffered through Anne Rice novels for goth points at that age. And I say suffered through because I still have yet to finish Interview with the Vampire. I've never read more than 2/3 of the entire book ever in my life. It puts me to sleep. I can barely finish a chapter before I like get immensely tired and try to and need to go to sleep, right? And it's not just because of the time I spend the time that I read books. At first I thought that was the deal, but no, like I've never finished Interview with the Vampire. I have come as much as 2/3 of the way through with it before I get distracted by something else. But yeah, like, where the hell is that puzzle piece? I'm finding pistachio shells I thought I had swept up.
If I was a child today, I might have fallen into the crowd and
Okay.
tranced.
That needs to go back to Whole Foods, because that's a store brand that's locked in. That's a plastic fly that I got like several Halloweens. I have a big bag of plastic flies that I got several Halloweens ago. I have no idea why they're here still. What the hell? Did I even drop it? I think I'm... Oh, there it is. Never mind. I was starting to think like this was some kind of Mandela effect, but in real time. I'm like, wait, did I even drop it? Or did I just think that I dropped it? No, that would be like... No, I think it has to be a cultural phenomenon for it to be be Mandela effect. But yeah, like I have mixed feelings about the fact that I have been so out of the loop about pop culture because as I said, humans are kind of an aggressively social species. So like, you know, we like to be around we like to be around people that we relate to. We like to be around our packs, as it, you know, so to speak, right? We like to be around our packs. And the fact that I have been brutally out of the loop on pop culture is a signifier that that my potential for finding my pack, that, you know, that finding my tribe that I can, you know, relate to on... What the hell? Please stay. This thing, the hinge is so fucking loose. And that's what I get for cheaping out, but whatever. Oh my gosh. But what was I saying, right? But yeah, like like I was saying, the fact that I've been so out of the loop, this gives me so many mixed feelings because at the end of the day, I have reduced to some extent my ability to find my tribe because I don't know what the hell is going on with the rest of the world so much. Like, do you have any idea like how isolating it is to be in high school and have no idea what most of the other kids are into? And like, not only to have like no idea what the other kids are into, but when you do find out what the other kids are into, you think it's stupid. So yeah, like I say, I have so many mixed feelings about that because on one hand, it's kind of like a badge of exactly how weird I am and like potentially why I am one of those people who has just been drawn to the goth subculture for basically his entire life, give or take, right? You know, like I'm not gonna go like, oh, I was born goth, like I came out Doc Martens first. I was a breech birth, but I was cesarean. So there's no coming out feet Doc Martens first, right? But that's another story for another time. But at the same time, it's like like on one hand, like I said, it's kind of like this weird, like, you know, backhanded badge of honor. It's like on the one hand, like I have no other choice but to find myself deep in an underground subculture for, you know, at my entire life at this point, you know, for all practical purposes. Like, you know, your first 12, 13 years kind of barely count. Like, that's your larval stage, right? That's your larval stage. And then you're in the pupating stage when, you know, like, you know, which is like puberty. Oh my gosh, those do have the same root, don't they? Son of a bitch. But yeah, like, contrary to popular belief, you're still like in your pupa stage until you're at least in your mid-20s, because like that's when like the physical structures of your brain are, that's how long they continue to develop, right? And there is some science to like the old, you know, folk belief of course that doesn't go there. That would make, actually that would make no sense. But where was I going? Right. But yeah, there is some degree of science to the whole old folk belief. Oh wait, no, that does go down another one. Okay, never mind. I had an never mind. I had it in the wrong spot to begin with. The whole old folk belief of girls mature faster than boys. That's not exactly wrong. Because in cisgender men, those structures can take until you're about 30 to develop in some cases. Like not everyone, not every case, but it's like, boys like cisgender boys also tend to start puberty a little later too. Right, so AMAB bodies tend to start a little later too. So yeah, it's it's a thing. Like, there's some science behind that old folk belief, but yeah, like there's a wide range of what is quote unquote normal for some bodies, and like even within the typical range of what is considered typical, there's a very wide range, and even the outliers to that, it doesn't mean anything really. It's like, it's not like a bad thing if some stuff's delayed or whatever. But I digress. But where was I going? I was going somewhere with this. Right. The whole James Charles thing. Wait, I don't care how many people tell me that your brain stops developing at some point. I'm convinced. Oh, yeah. Well, the neural synapses, those continue developing your entire life. Like you are constantly learning things in other parts of the brain, but no, like there are some physical structures that are associated with emotional regulation and a lot of other things that people with ADHD are in executive function, right? So yeah, like those structures of the brain, like the physical parts of them, like that will still those kind of finish physically developing at a point, but then there are other parts of the brain, like oh my gosh, the human brain, we know so little about how it works, right? So, just the fact that some parts of the brain do finish developing, like physically at some point, that doesn't mean that there aren't other parts that are constantly working and learning and relearning and, so much. Like the idea that it is necessarily easier for small children to learn languages is kind of a half-truth. The thing is, like, the thing about that is that, like, when you're very young, it is very easy for you to learn anything very easily. Oh, yeah. Brains are absolutely fascinating. But yeah, like, we know relatively so little about how the human brain even works, right? Like, we know how, like, some structures will continue, like, physically maturing, but then there are other parts of the brain that never shut down. Like, well, not, I mean, like, if any part of the brain shut down, then you'd be in some serious trouble. But like, yeah, like they never stop growing, they never stop forming, they never stop, like, your brain never truly stops learning unless you let it. So yeah, like, technically it's true that small children learn languages much more easily than adults do, or even teenagers do, but small children learn everything so much more easily than, small children learn basically everything so much more easily than adults or even teenagers do, right? So yeah, like, there is a but yeah, the thing Oh gosh, I kept going on. I keep getting distracted from the whole James Charles thing. But like I said, the point that I wanted to make is that as uncomfortable as it can be for a cisgender heterosexual man to, be even mildly sexually harassed by a gay man, and there are many things that fall under the legal definition of sexual harassment, like persistent flirting can fall under the jurisdiction of sexual harassment in many jurisdictions, right? So, like I said, like it doesn't have to be like straight up, assault of squishy parts upon, or less than. I don't know. I'm trying to avoid shit that would automatically demonetize things, or at least like exact words or whatever. I don't know. I'm so close. I am so fucking close to getting that first Google AdSense payday. But I'm also so fucking pissed off with Google AdSense, especially on YouTube right now. What was playing in the thing last week, when I was doing the puzzle stream? PragerU has decided to classify a lot of their hour and a half long videos as advertisements that will play in the middle of somebody else's videos. So unless you are right there to skip past it after the first 5 seconds, you will be assaulted by an 90-minute PragerU video that you never subscribed to, but they're showing it to you anyway because Google is letting them call their bullshit commercials, right? I have been taking screenshots of every time this has happened and sending it to the at YouTube, whatever's on Twitter, all of them just mass doing this, because at the very least, they won't stop letting this happen if people don't complain. If you don't complain about this shit, they'll just let it go. They'll think there's no problem. But if you keep complaining, eventually a human will get through, and just like I said, every time you see this goddamn thing, this kind of thing happening on there, just take screenshots if at all possible, and harass YouTube at the very least on Twitter about this shit, because no. I don't know why they even were playing that in the middle of an Eleanor Neal video either. They were doing that to Stephanie Harlow earlier today too, and I don't fucking know why. I know she describes herself on rare occasion as kind of a libertarian in some ways, but in others she doesn't go into her politics, but she's dropped little hints here and there that I don't think she is the kind of libertarian who would appreciate PragerU assaulting her viewers. She is definitely not that kind of bullshit. But and here I am, actually swearing rather than. But whatever. Okay, things happen. They'll happen again. Where the hell am I looking for this at? Right. Any discomfort felt by an ostensibly cisgender, ostensibly heterosexual man, who has been even mildly harassed by a gay man, like I said, assume persistent flirting at the very least. The whole structure of toxic masculinity. Oh my gosh, there was a great episode on Grownish, the Blackish spinoff that is kind of that is kind of doing what A Different World was doing, right? And oh gosh, I kind of appreciate how oh, what's his face, and Diana Ross's kid on Blackish. They're kind of doing in a way like what the Cosby Show did like 100 years ago when I was a child, but they're doing it better, and they're doing it, definitely updated. Oh dear, what the hell? Crap and stuff, right? The discomfort felt by heterosexual men to be even like, they think this is some kind of like huge ass ultra scary boogeyman moment, but the reality is that the victim of the unwanted attention, and I'm saying victim as like a neutral descriptive because I lack a better word right now. Even though, because I say lack a better word right now because, like, when we think victim, we think somebody who has suffered some kind of tangible, and by tangible I mean observable, right? People have no idea what the fuck tangible means. I don't know why. I almost went off on some non-binary person in their YouTube comments earlier this week because they're saying tangible regarding somebody's feelings. Like, feelings aren't tangible. They can't be observed by others besides yourself. Like, I mean, I guess to some degree perhaps, but no, we're talking about like more abstract feelings, like gender identity. Like, no, gender identity is not a tangible thing. It's not tangible. That is not what tangible means. Oh my god, you take Sociology 101 for a semester and you think you fucking know everything. Where was I going? Up my ass and around the corner. Right. It's just... There's just... It's a... The discomfort felt by a heterosexual man who is getting, like I said, even unwanted flirting, because if we're being completely honest, hetero men sexually assault gay men way more than the other way around. Look at the fuck up. Like, instances of gay men actually breaching that level of physical assault against a heterosexual man is so goddamn rare. It is so insanely rare that for all practical purposes, especially this kind of thing, it's like, this is a boogeyman. This is a boogeyman. This is a cultural boogeyman that, lurks in the mind of the patriarchal toxic masculinity, thing. It is more fear than fact, right? It is more fear than fact. So any discomfort felt by an ostensibly cisgender, ostensibly heterosexual man who is being, like I said, like any kind of sexually harassed by a gay man, like before it crosses a line into like physical sexual assault, of course, right? Like, we're talking harassment, right? his discomfort is disproportionately so much higher than the threat voicing his discomfort to his community will force upon that gay man. Like, I know that it is like just barely March in my time zone, but there have been cases where gay men of any race have been basically lynched. And like I said, I know this is like just barely March now in my time zone. So like, you know, Black History Month is in Michigan is officially over. And I know lynching is like it's a very loaded phenomenon to speak of. Like, it is a very loaded term to use for this, but like, there's no other way to put it. Like, I'm not like one of the people from PETA likening livestock to slavery, right? I'm saying like, no, there have been legit cases where an outed gay man, you know, like, looked funny at a hetero, and his goddamn community went and strung him up, okay? So no, like, I don't care what the allegations against James Charles are. The person making them, especially if they're a straight man, carries so much more power through culture, the culture's just outright homophobia that we still have. This is still a patently homophobic culture. I'm like, yes, oh my god. I seriously thought JoJo Siwa at first was a cartoon character for like most of the last year. I'd only heard about her like maybe a year ago, but apparently she's been a thing for years. And I only first like really noticed her name like maybe a year ago. At first I thought she was a cartoon character. And then up until like maybe a couple months ago, I thought maybe she was like a Japanese pop idol. And then I finally saw a picture of her. So yeah, like, it's like, yeah, it's amazing. Like, especially as a gay man, I understand, especially at my age, right? Like I came of age when Queer Nation was like at the height of their activism, and, you know, like, oh shit, like Best X was a part of ACT UP Central Michigan, right? He was a goddamn demonstrator with ACT UP Central Southeast Michigan chapter, right? I think he was treasurer for a while. Yeah, so like, you know, that is Best X. He's a little bit older than me, but not enough to be creepy. He thought it was at the time he and I were first dating, but, you know, we were just like, yeah, but I'm not saying he got over it, like in, you know, but he actually had a little bit more of an issue with the age difference at first than I did, because, you know, like, I was like 20, like literally 20, and we're all kind of stupid. We're all still kind of stupid when we're 20. Like, even the most brilliant, emotionally mature 20-year-old is still kind of stupid, especially compared to how they will be when they're 30, right? Especially compared to how they will be when they're 40. But I digress. So yeah. He never made a habit out of going for people younger than him. In fact, like, most of his exes were within a year, maybe two, older than him too. So yeah, like, we just accepted it as a thing that happened. Like, he was 27, I was 20, so but yeah, then what happened? Right, I was trying to wait. No. Oh. Wait. No. Okay, wait. I think I know where this one goes, but...
Also, wait, Quagmire's dad slept with a dog.
I
The dog
think...
is the nauseated one in the scenario.
Where the hell? I thought... Oh, never mind. I know exactly where this goes now. Okay. I just had to turn it around like... Yeah, like, no. I'm sure there's going to be people on the internet, because that's what internet people do. Especially when we've all been cooped up in our homes for a year and we're bored and nothing else is happening. So we got to snipe at each other online so we feel like we're having a social life, even though we aren't. It's just like a cruel mockery of what human socialization is supposed to be, but whatever. But yeah. I am like hashtag Team James Charles, because I know that at least I gathered anyway from stuff that I picked up when somebody mentioned it earlier, and that was so long ago. I don't feel like scrolling back in the chat to figure out what exactly all was said. I'll figure it out. I'll figure it out eventually. I figured out who Hanson was, so I'll figure this out too. But yeah. How did I figure out who Hanson was? I don't know. Yeah, shit. I haven't actually like sat and watched like any of the Academy Awards, like not the Oscars, not the Grammys or Emmys or anything since like 1996. Which was a little bit, like after I stopped listening to Top 40 radio, but seriously, like where was I going? Where was I going with this? I was going somewhere. Okay, the puzzle. Oh, right, yeah. Like any discomfort experienced by any hetero who got somehow aggressively accosted or such by James Charles, it's like that discomfort is nothing compared to what the average members of heterosexual society will force upon James Charles. Like, I mean, and especially after that whole, like Toddy cried wolf, year and a half ago. When was this? I don't know. I have no sense of time anymore. But yeah, that whole like Toddy cried wolf situation, like, if we assume this is, like, this may very well be a legit allegation as well, but like I said, like she did the whole like Toddy cry wolf thing so she could, and so like now, like I said, like let's say like this is a legit allegation that is based on something that actually happened. Well, especially after D'Angelo Wallace did that thorough 3-part thing with all that shit that went down. Yeah. Oh gosh, yeah. He launched that. What was that? Like December or something? Maybe January. I don't know. Time means nothing anymore. Why do I keep picking this up? I'm not sure where that goes yet. I keep thinking that I know where it goes, but then I look at it some more and I'm like, what the fuck? That looks nothing like what I thought. And it's the same thing too. But crap and stuff. Yeah, I'm like, no, it's like, I hate sounding like that guy, but it's like, it's like Toddy has made a lot of people a lot more sympathetic towards James Charles, especially like after all her bullshit got exposed as complete bullshit. So like let's hypothetically say that this allegation has a pot to piss in. Well, if nobody's taking it seriously, guess whose fault that is? Sure hell isn't James Charles on, if nobody's taking it seriously, because a straight cisgender woman weaponized homophobia because her little pet gay boy didn't want to pitch her vitamins, but instead pitched them for a competitor, ostensibly because they made the better offer to do so. Right? You know, so yeah. So yeah, that's what happened, and she weaponized homophobia, and he suffered a massive smear campaign for a good 2 weeks before, you know, he brought the receipts and everything, and so yeah. But yeah, like there are still people who I still see them occasionally, you know, who want to lord that over him, and I'm just like, dude, shut up. That is just, you know what? That I find myself saying this to people, like, either to their own YouTube videos, which of course they're not hearing because that's how internet works, right? So I find myself saying this, like, to the TV, basically, because I stream it over the Roku. I found myself saying to the TV a lot, either shut the fuck up, dude, shut up, and go fuck yourself, a lot. I said go fuck yourself to Billie Eilish Friday when I was watching her interview on Colbert, because she decided to say thank you to the reason everybody is suffering. So many people are suffering physically and mentally, but oh, hey, she's 18 and so far up her own ass that, you know, she's going to be tactless. And I understand. I've said it in this stream a number of times, we're all fucking stupid when we're teenagers. And I really hope that in, like, even 5 years, she will look back on, you know, her whole little, oh, thank you, COVID, I wrote a whole album, yay! I'm like, I hope she looks back on that in 5 years and apologizes to basically telling people, you are suffering so that I can get rich. Because that's basically what she fucking said. That's what she fucking said on Colbert Thursday night. And I'm like, as a musician, I truly believe that, like, musicians should, like, lift each other up and all that, and, like, we should be happy for each other, especially, like, you know, when they can succeed with, you know, when we can succeed with our passions, especially, like, young people. I'm all about encouraging young people to you know, like, get into music and play an instrument and all of that. I find myself a lot of times like you can guarantee I will put $1 in a cherry jar at the grocery store or something if it is for a music charity. If it is for, like, a music education charity program, I will put $1 in there. Like, you could just put that sticker on the jar and actually, like, send it to a breast cancer thing, and, like, first off, I will report you. But secondly, like, if you really want to get that dollar, if you really want to, like, scam that $1 out of me for, you know, Susan Komen and that, like, bullshit, because it is bullshit. It really is. Like we're no closer to finding a cure for breast cancer than any other kind of cancer, and in fact, like, the survival rate of breast cancer is measurably better than many other kinds of cancer. But I digress. But yeah, like, you will guarantee that I will put $1 in a charity jar if it's for, like, music education. So I really want to be happy for her, but at the same time, she is such a fucking teenager up her own ass. And that was a horrifying, repugnant moment, completely devoid of empathy. And I don't even know any of her songs. I just know that there's a couple. I wasn't even aware, really. Like, I think I saw a CD at Whole Foods. I think they've got CDs at the register at the one that I go to a lot. I think I might have saw that. I didn't know who the hell it was. I figured, okay, it's just some other pop star I don't know. But yeah, I didn't really like figure out who she was until like somebody, one of the goth YouTubers, was it AcuMortis? I don't know. Somebody did a video about her music and how it, and whether or not it's goth, because I guess there are some people saying that she was or something. I don't know. Like I said, I eventually figured out who the hell Hanson was, and I was like 16, something like that. I don't know. I just like, so like I said, like I kind of want to be really happy for her because like she is a young person in music. She is a young person who carries a lot of weight with other young people, and she is actively, like whether she fully realizes like her power in this position, well, which she clearly doesn't because she's 18 or something. But yeah, like regardless of how much she understands her power of influencing other young people to get involved in music and to learn music and play an instrument and truly love music, it's irrelevant how much she understands that right now, because the important thing is that she's doing that. Just the fact that she is so young and so apparently successful as a musician, that is worthy of applause. But that applause should not come at the price of basic human empathy. And I hope for her own sake that she will be embarrassed by that Colbert interview a year from now. Best case scenario, she's already embarrassed by it, and embarrassed of the cruel, heartless things she said about this last year. Because that's what she did. She was fucking hideous. Her comments like, oh, I'm so glad everybody's suffering and physically ill. People are dying. People are I'm pulling my hair out again. I am pulling my hair out again. It has not stopped with my eyebrows. I am pulling my hair out again. It has gotten to that point with me. I am pulling my hair out again. I have not done this since I was 15 years old. I'm pulling my hair out again. I'm pulling my hair out again. I've not done this since I was at least 15, maybe 17. I don't remember exactly like when I stopped, but I'm pulling my hair out again. I'm biting my nails again. I've not bitten my nails since I was 13, and I remember that. I don't remember what got me to stop biting my nails at 13, but I remember that it was age 13 when I did stop. But yeah, I'm pulling my hair out again. Remember how much this was, right? So like I've got bumps all over from digging the needle nose tweezers in there to pull out ingrowns. So I'm pulling my hair out again. But that's okay, because a fucking teenage brat who is devoid of empathy is rich. She's rich. Her brother, produced her album or some shit. They've got, 57 Grammys just from this last awards cycle, whatever. But, I'm pulling my hair out again. It would not surprise me in the least if other people with this, with these tendencies and all that, it wouldn't surprise me if other people are going back to their own, to their old self-harm or other kinds of shit. But yeah, I'm pulling my hair out again. I haven't done this in a little over 20 years. So yeah. I haven't bitten my nails in 25 years. Over 25 years, but I'm doing it again. So yeah,
So assuming that sex attack number is correct, it doesn't say how many of these 7 are trans men.
So yeah, I'm
non-binary or whatever. So while the
but that's okay.
is that men and
That's
drag
okay.
are sneaking into women's prisons to assault cis women, they aren't telling us who is doing
That's all
these
good, I
things.
guess, because
So if by extreme
there's a
technicality that they
fucking
believe
teenage
that
brat
they're
who
representing a false
hasn't figured out basic
For
tact.
the sake of argument, let's just assume that they're not, even though I
Yeah.
have my doubts. They are relying on their
She's rich, full of
biases
accolades, so who the fuck
that
cares
trans women are
that
predatory and are a danger to cis women.
other
Also,
people are
the data
suffering?
this article draws on is a mess. Found out the hard way that the UK apparently does not keep nearly as good data on sexual assault as prisons in the US do, and just the way that things are phrased in this report is super confusing to read and therefore really easy for.
So yeah, Billie Eilish can go fuck herself. She's fucking heartless.
Take bits of data and clearly willfully misrepresent them, like saying 139
I hope she's already embarrassed by that, but that's literally too much to ask. And it's too much to ask because she's a fucking teenager, because we're all fucking stupid at that age. Like I said earlier, even the most brilliant, emotionally mature 20-year-old is a fucking idiot compared to who they will be when they're 30, 40, 70, right? So it's like, it's not a moral judgment, it's just a fact of being young. She thanked COVID! She thanked COVID because she's rich, right? She wrote an album, produced an album with her brother, got like a dozen Grammys. So thank you, COVID. I'm pulling my hair out again for the first time in over 20 years. I'm digging tweezers into my skin to pull out ingrown hairs. Like that's why I would go get my eyebrows waxed, because it would help curb my tendencies to do self-harm. But that's not cutting it anymore. Like, plucking my eyebrows isn't enough. In fact, like, I plucked my entire chest and abdomen, like down to my navel. Like, you can go and look at some of my videos. This was like covered in hair until little under a week ago. I did most of it. I plucked most of this, like I said, with just a pair of tweezers. Over let's see. Yeah, I was like, I was binging episodes of The Simpsons on Disney Plus with my Hulu. Yeah, I got in some kind of like bundle with Hulu, and I want to say, yeah, I did my whole chest and abdomen over. I want to say like 6 episodes. I want to say a 6-episode binge of The Simpsons. So let's see, approximately 20 minutes per episode. Let's say 20. Let's say 25, because this was early mid-90s. And there were shorter commercial breaks. So let's see, 25 minutes per episode. 25, 50. 6. So let's see. We got, let's see, 150 minutes. So yeah, in the area of about 2.5 hours. Yeah. So like, imagine just like how much constant plucking with a tweezers has to happen in 2.5 hours to just like basically wipe my whole chest and abdomen smooth. So there's already been a lot of discussion by people who are not So
and who actually
so yeah, that's
about this sort of thing, about the weird gender subtext in the Harry Potter series.
yeah,
Cho Chang,
if she's especially mature for her age, she's already embarrassed by the cruel, tactless shit she was saying. That is just like a big middle finger to. And like I said, I barely knew who she was until very, very recently, all things considered. But I understand that as a musician myself, the fact that she is such a successful musician at her age is so important. It's so important. Like, she is, whether she fully realizes the importance of it or not, she's actively influencing so many people, so many young people to get into music and get involved in music and learn music and play music and just fully appreciate how important it is to have music as a part of human culture. It is like a near universal of human culture. Yeah, that doesn't matter. It doesn't matter the exact words she said. She said that she basically said that other people's suffering, physically and emotionally, was worth it. That is basically the gist of what she said. Her exact words are irrelevant. What matters most is impact. Intent alone isn't magical. Like, that is just as true in the physical world as it is in the metaphysical planes. Intent alone isn't magic. Intent with action can be very powerful, but it has to be intent with the right action. And speaking is an action. Okay? Speaking is an action. Like, in terms of theory and media crit, I have done what I can do. But in terms of YouTube, like my friend Adrienne, she's been very, very public with about her study as an operatic mezzo-soprano. I myself have a long education as a classical singer. I have about 15 years education as a classical singer. It is physical work to sing, all right? So if singing is physical labor to do, so is speaking, okay? Speaking is an action, right? We cannot excuse people who only said words because they had to perform an action to say those words. The act of saying those words is itself an action, okay? Like the act of saying it. All right? So the exact words she said is irrelevant because, you know, as I said, intent alone is not magical. This is just as true with the physical realm as it is with the metaphysical realm. If you study magic for any relevant amount of time, you will understand that. You will understand that intent alone is not magic. Intent with action can produce great magic, but it needs to be intent with the right action. So, yes, her words, the action she took, she's a... Oh, yeah, Lygia Resurrected. Yeah, Adrienne. She's really sweet. She's a goddamn sweetheart. Oh, she and I got so catty about Classically Abby a couple weeks ago because, oh my gosh, Abby Shapiro is not a good singer. She understands technique, okay, right? But it's completely devoid of passion, and she's just not very good. Like, she does not have a great voice. She knows how to use her voice, but that's about it. That's really all that. And there's something about her, and I know this because I had a couple years of operatic technique, until my mother burned that bridge, and and then the divorce, I don't know. Well, it was already after the divorce, but my mother ended up burning that bridge a couple years after the divorce. So I lost my operatic technique lessons after that. But yeah, where was I going? Right. But yeah, because I understand both choral singing, which is the bulk of my classical music training. I'm a very competent recitalist. And then there's my pop voice versus my classical voice. That's what I do when I go out busking and singing all the greatest hits of the 1920s and 30s at local street art festivals and shit. But where was I going? Right. There's something about Abby Shapiro where she seems like she'd be the kind of operatic recitalist who has zero respect for choral singers, even though as somebody who has experience as both a recitalist and as a choral singer, I would say choral singing is so much more difficult. Because think about doing any kind of group project. Hell, think about a factory assembly line. If one person on the line does the wrong thing, it will mess up everything that comes after that spot on the line. It will mess up everything. It will mess up everybody who has to do their own bit after that person who messed up. And it will mean everything that came, it will mean all the steps that came before the person who messed up was for naught, because the thing is now bad. The thing is now defective and all that. So yeah, that is why I would say choral singing is so much more difficult, because you have to work together as a group. And if you have difficulty with groups, there's a reason. Well, there's a number of reasons that I have been in more bands than I have surviving recordings of them, which I have no surviving recordings of them, but I've been in a number of bands. But I think the longest one ever lasted was a year and a half. And part of that is the people I chose to work with. Another part of it is I understand that I can sometimes be difficult to work with. I can be very particular when it comes to music, okay? So yeah, like I said, I'm not putting it all off on the people that I worked with, but yeah, I'm accepting that I am not the easiest person to work with when it comes to music. So, but yeah, where's the thing? So yeah, there's just something about, and yet for some reason, it is very common in the classical music world that a lot of operatic recitalists have absolutely zero respect for choral singers. When I'm like, I don't know. It's not the choral singing. It's not the choral singing. It's not that it's beneath you or anything. It's that you're impossible to work with, right? At some point you realize that the issue, because yeah, you have to work together like as a whole, like not even like like not even as like an assembly line, right? Because that is like everybody has their own individual thing to do in succession. But like as a choir, as a choral music group of any sort, you have to work together as a single unit. You are working together. You are like, let's say, small choir. And here I'm thinking like small, like classical cathedral choir of 24 people. And I know there are some that are, smaller, but yeah, like let's say like, a fairly average, like, church choir, like 24 people, you have to be performing as a single voice. So like basically like you have to work like a human brain. Everybody has their own part to do all at the same goddamn time. And if one part of that brain isn't working properly, it kind of disrupts the function of everything else in the brain. So it's like that's why lobotomies are now considered a last resort, when about 100 years ago, not even 100 years ago, there were some doctors who could be very liberal with lobotomies, especially when it came to young women who were very headstrong. In fact, oh shit, I think it was no, it wasn't Allen Ginsberg. It was one of the other Beat poets. There was some kind of like Q&A of like some of the last remaining major Beat poets, and a young woman in the audience. It was her turn to ask something. Shit. Who was this? It wasn't Allen Ginsberg. It wasn't Allen Ginsberg. It wasn't Burroughs either. But I'm pretty sure Burroughs. Oh yeah, Rosemary Kennedy. But yeah, no, I'm not thinking of Burroughs. Burroughs. I think Burroughs seconded what the. Who was it? Burroughs definitely seconded what this person I'm thinking of saying. But yeah, like a young woman, it was her turn to ask, and she said, and she asked like why there was such a lack of women associated with the beats, with the beat generation movement, the beat poets, the beatniks, right? She asked like why there were like no surviving writings from women, or very few at most, right? And he said there were absolutely a whole lot of women, especially early on, but what happened was many of them were were your basic middle class, so like just affluent enough that their parents put them in institutions. Many of them were lobotomized, brutalized, sexually assaulted, and when they were allowed to come out, they were a shell of themselves before they went in. So it had nothing to do with the community of the Beats ourselves, he was saying. It had to do with the society that they were up against. So yeah, like if you ever wonder like why you don't see a whole lot of women associated with that, that's why. It's because and yeah, like so yeah, like yeah, when oh shit, yeah, like when the Kennedy sister, when like part of her brain was removed, right? So it's like like she's so like there were days like like that the family was grateful she even remembered who they were, right? There were days she was grateful that they were grateful she even remembered her name after that. But like at least she wasn't out thinking for herself like her parents told her not to. So yeah, like that is how I would describe being a choral singer. Like you have to function with people. You have to be able to function with other people to be a choral singer. And I was an excellent choral singer. I absolutely, loved every choir I worked with. It's guitarists. I have a lot of bad luck with guitarists. Either, I mean, ultimately, a lot of it just comes down to incompatible personality types that I found in yeah, every guitarist I've worked with. So yeah, like I don't know. I need to find a really chill guitarist who will let me take the reins. Who will be more than willing to share my vision with writing, because I don't play guitar well enough to perform it. I can kind of noodle about a little bit with chords in the writing process, but yeah, like I just I need to find the right kinds of people to work with. Until then, I'm just gonna like noodle about with my nonsense with various little experimental instruments that I've got and hope for the best. But yeah, how did I get going on this? Said something. Oh, right, yeah, Billie Eilish. Yeah, like I said, I really want to be happy for her. I really want to be happy for her, like, you know, just like as a fellow musician. As a fellow musician who was literally trained from childhood. You know, like my mother was damn sure to, you know, was damn determined to make sure like this would be like my only usable skill that was worth anything. I mean, yeah, I can crochet and do some other stuff, but nobody wants to pay me what my labor would be worth for that. I barely get paid what my labor's worth with music. And even then, I beg to differ, considering the 20 plus years I've studied it. Oh yeah, yeah. If you combine all the lessons I've had in various things, yeah, we're talking like a combined, yeah, we're talking a combined 30 years of music lessons, right? Like I said, we're talking a combined like 30 years of music lessons throughout various instruments and all that. So yeah, it's my only skill. I like being happy for young people. I really do. I'm not as much of a jaded loser as I sometimes think I am. I really do get very enthused for young people. Like I said earlier, I thought JoJo Siwa was a cartoon character for most of the last year, and up until like maybe a month or two ago, I thought she might have been like some kind of Japanese pop idol, you know, when I got confirmed that she was a real person. But I guess she's been a thing for longer than that, and she's definitely not Japanese. And so like I love that she feels so confident and safe to come out as, you know, she still hasn't exactly like put her sexual identity into exact words, but that's okay. That's okay. Like when you're young, you're still learning about yourself. You've got, and it's not a race. I say to people, like, it's not a race. Like, you don't have to have yourself completely figured out by any one particular age. You know, it's not like somebody's going to come and take your gay card away if you, you know, if you realize, like, at some point in like your 30s or 40s that, like, you know, hey, turns out I'm bi or something, right? But you know, like, it's not a race. Like, you know what you know about yourself when you know it. And sometimes, you know, sometimes you know a lot, sometimes not quite so much, but you still, like, you only know. Where the, all right, this looks like it goes to this area, but it is nowhere near that. Oh, never mind, there's another one way the hell up here. That's stupid. So where was I going with this? Right. Oh, hey. Okay. This, yeah, I think this is the part that got wonked up. Well, things were a little bit wet. Yes, it was. Okay, sweet. At least I figured it out. At least I've got puzzle glue. But yeah, it's like I'm so happy. Like I said, I didn't know who JoJo Siwa actually was until like maybe a month or so ago. But I understand like how like the impact, like how big a deal this was. Because like I said, I came of age like when Queer Nation was like incredibly active as activists and all that, and Best X was very involved with ACT UP in the early 90s when he was in college. Like I'm pretty sure he was a chapter, like he was like Central Southeast Michigan ACT UP chapter treasurer at the time, at least for a while anyway. So it's like I've seen so much of queer activist history, like just in my own lifetime. So I understand like how big a deal that is. So I'm happy for her. I'm happy that she's, you know, that she feels safe and comfortable enough, and that she is willing to say what she knows about herself as she knows it, and it's okay that she wants to use non-committal language for I suspect some of it might be because is she working with Disney or Nickelodeon? I don't know. It's irrelevant. Either way, she's a fucking children's entertainer. So I know. So yeah, there's a part of my head that's like, you know, I'm sure some of this like, you know, non-committal language might be due to like professional pressures, but at the same time, like, you know, she's on Instagram with a T-shirt that says "Best Gay Cousin Ever," right? So, you know, that is very unambiguous. It is very unambiguous. And I understand like how big this is for young people, and I'm glad. And I want to be this kind of glad for Billie Eilish with all the Grammys she got. And because that is very impressive, especially for somebody like when I was shit. I hate doing that when I was that age kind of stuff, but actually no, wait. She's like 18, right? 18. I've been on my own since I was 17. So yeah, like at 18, let's see. At 18, I was I spent most of being 18 I would occasionally sing backup, like as far as like my music went. I would occasionally sing backup for local bands. And for the next few years, I would just like make very minor contributions with other friends' projects and all that. But yeah, so it's like, you know, when I was her age, I had probably double the music education, and excuse me, but had let myself be convinced that it wasn't going to go anywhere, and you know, so basically let all the anxieties take over for a bit. But still, it's like it's so. I really want to be happy for her, but just her complete lack of tact on the Colbert interview on Thursday. I watched it Friday, I believe, and that's when I told her to go fuck off over the TV, and she couldn't hear me, but that's okay. I felt better. But yeah, I really want to be happy for her. I really do. But I'm so offended by the gross tactlessness of her language in that interview. It doesn't matter to me the exact words she used, because the impact rendered it irrelevant. As I began several times before, it is just as true in the physical plane as it is on the metaphysical plane. If you have any competent education in how magic works, being a pagan who has occasionally used the title of witch when it's worked for me, you know, when it has been more true than untrue. This last, I want to say like 7 years thereabouts, as far as like my religion spirituality goes, I've been in this very non-committal stage of defining my my spirituality. I mean, pagan works because pagan works, polytheist works, but I just kind of dropped out of the Hellenic polytheist community. I want to say around 2013, 2014. No, 2014. It was the year I moved back to Ipsy. Yeah, shortly after. Yeah. No, that would have been 2015 then that I just kind of fell out because it was the year after. Okay. So yeah, I just kind of dropped out. I have no ill feelings towards anybody there. Like there wasn't any drama or anything. It was just like, it was like spiritually, I recognized that I was heading in a different direction and needed to go and do my own thing for a while and be very non-committal about the labels and all that. So, but yeah, as I said, as I began, when you have even a halfway competent education in magic and how magic systems work, you should learn that, what's it called? Intent alone is not magic. Intent alone will never be magic. Intent plus action can create powerful magic, but it must be intent with the right action. Intent with the wrong action, at best, nothing happens. Nothing happens, nothing bad happened, nothing good happened either. So like intent with the wrong action, at best, nothing happened, nobody was hurt, and you learn better and do better next time. But intent with the wrong action can also have intense consequences that can hurt yourself and others. Metaphysically, of course, we're talking about magic metaphysics here with this part of the rambling on for almost 3 hours apparently. So that is my issue with that is why I hope, as recently as like yesterday, Billie Eilish, who I really want to be happy for her, but right now I'm still just like pissed off at how tactless her comments were, because it is like not even a full 2 days later, and I am still just reeling. And like I said, I've been pulling my hair out again. I've been digging tweezers into my skin, hunting for ingrown hairs, because I know there's a hair in there that I can pull out. I can't always see it, but yeah, I know it's there. And that is what the cycle of somebody who has a history of compulsive self-harm under anxiety and stress will do. Like that is one direction it will go. You will find yourself with a beautiful house and a beautiful wife and ask yourself, how did I get here? This is not my beautiful stapler. This is not my beautiful chair. Oh, fuck. I have half a mind to take a break from this puzzle and I need to go finish painting my kerosene heater. I know, like, winter is coming to its wind down, even in this climate of part of Michigan, but it is still fairly chilly at night, and sometimes I like to take my dinner out on my balcony. And I will take out my folding chair and all that, like I said, like have some dinner on my balcony. So it turns out that when it is chilly at night, you can make it warmer by having a kerosene heater. So yeah, I gotta go finish painting this. I bought it for like I bought it for a bit of a steal, honestly. It's absolutely gorgeous. It's an old Perfection 5 520 series. So we're talking in the area of about 110 years old, and it is just absolutely gorgeous. It's absolutely gorgeous. And it's still got a little bit of a wick to it. I know that won't be like the cleanest burn, you know, using the remnant of the wick that I got it with, but it will be a bit warmer than, you know, like not using it, right? And it turns out you can turn on your what's it called? You can turn on a kerosene heater outside on the balcony, and it will warm shit up when it is chilly outside. Funny how that. Whoa, darkly tailored. Blessed be Stacy. Oh, thank you so much. Thank you so much. Oh yeah, Kennedy's lobotomy. That's right. Yeah, I mean, I know lobotomy. Like, I will say, thank you so much, darkly tailored. Yeah, I know what I was saying about lobotomy. Like, I was just like kind of oversimplifying the process. But yeah, people are welcome to, like, you know, discuss the more intricate parts of how it works. I'm just a loudmouth with internet access. Like even though I do like understand that that sometimes that like a lot of things are a bit more complex than when I summarize them in the ways that I sometimes will. It's just a habit of it's a habit of like with my education in music, I have some background in theater as well, so public speaking, scripting, all that. Like, you know, if you're ever finding yourself what would you tell us about your first time at the goth club? Goth club lease? My first time at a goth club. In fact, like, when I briefly mentioned this, this is the story. This is the story that got me kicked off the Argoth Discord server. And like I said, like I have said to people during and since this, so many other people have told similar stories, and they were not dogpiled on by a little friend clique who decided that they were gonna decide that this was like morally abhorrent. But yes, I was underage. I was 14. My brother-in-law got me fake ID for my birthday that year. I was spending the summer in London with my sister and my brother-in-law. This would be my eldest half-sister, so my half-sister on my mother's side, the one who was Frank Zappa groupie spawn. And then what happens? So yeah, my sister's widow, because she died about 5 years ago from a brain hemorrhage. She was also a roadie. She was like road crew for tours, and she'd work festivals, but like as, you know, like as a music tech, like as a guitar tech, and stage crew. So yeah, there's a lot of music running in my family, but yeah. So yeah, like if you've ever been on the if you've ever been in a car in London, which is where they were living, you know, like what kind of insane driving there can be. And like I tell people in Michigan, like, no, you think you've got crazy drivers here, you need to go to goddamn England. Like, it is it is something else in London. But yeah, it's a large metropolitan city. It's got a they've got the docks. They've always had a very they've always had a large, somewhat like transient immigration population in London. But that's another story for another time. And oh, this goes way the fuck over here, which is where I haven't been putting things in a while. But oh hey, goes right there, sweet. But yeah, so like my brother-in-law was told by a magistrate that he cannot be trusted behind the wheel of an automobile. This was so basically my brother-in-law is not allowed to drive. My sister's widow is not allowed to drive. He's something else. Now, when I say that I've never had a driver's license, that is technically true. It's technically true for the U.S. On the other hand, so like when a parent, this is a thing in many countries. It even is a thing in many states in the U.S. If a parent is for some reason medically unable to drive, a child as young as 12 at least in some parts of the world, as young as 12 in some parts of the world, as young as 14 in others, may have a special permit to drive specifically that parent when necessary. So it is a highly restricted driver's permit. So even though I've never had dual citizenship, I did have one of those permits as long as I was driving my at the time brother-in-law, now my sister's widow, and he's the one who got me into the goth subculture and the music, and he did it really well too. He did it really well. In fact, like some of Angela's stories about how she will try and convert, like how she tried to convert some of her high school friends to get into goth music. Yeah, some of the stories she's told about that kind of remind me of how he worked his magic to get me into goth music. So like he would go, he would introduce me to bands based on stuff that I already liked. So I was really into Mark Bolan when I was like 13. I was really into Mark Bolan, really into Annie Lennox, really into Stevie Nicks. Really, I've been into Prince since I was 10. In fact, like I've got a playlist that I've titled Before I Was Goth. So, a lot of music, and you can kind of hear in a lot of it that I've added on there, you can kind of hear like how this could kind of nudge me in that direction. So I was really into Mark Bolan. He suggested I start listening to Specimen. Right, Specimen. I was really into David Bowie. He got me into Roz Williams. I was really into Stevie Nicks. This was very easy, especially since I was already into Roz Williams. Yeah, that's right. Illyria, that was 95. They put that out, right? The first Faith in the Muse album. Because that was like I was like 15. I remember 15. 15 was the year I wore a lot of velvet and lace and was really into Stevie Nicks. And so he passed along to me the Illyria album. Maybe it was a recommendation. I don't know. When did that come out? I remember I got really into Faith in the Muse, as like being nudged from being nudged from a starting point of Stevie Nicks. So the first time I went to the club, I spent a lot of time babysitting my brother-in-law. That was my first time at the goth club. I spent a lot of time trying to keep track of my brother-in-law. It was fun. I had a great time dancing. I had a great time talking to people and just like absorbing the music and the atmosphere and like the lights and the reckless abuse of the fog machine that happens at every goth club. It's just a fact. We've learned to live with it, so should you. Oh god, I was really into Queen, and he kind of in retrospect, he probably should have nudged me in the direction of Fields of the Nephilim from Queen. I actually have been really into Queen since I was 5, so but yeah, like for some reason he thought that Queen was a good springboard into Sisters of Mercy. And to be honest, I kind of prefer the Mission to Sisters of Mercy. And it's not just because of Andrew Eldris's reputation as being a total jackass to work with, but I just kind of like the flow of the music a lot better. It's, you know, I prefer Echo and the Bunnymen to The Cure. I do it wrong, right? Like that kind of sums up everything about me. Everything about it on its own doesn't work. It's like that sandwich Lister made on Red Dwarf where you think you're having a baby and everything is wrong. You look at every ingredient of that sandwich. I don't even remember what was on the sandwich, but I remember the beer milkshakes that he made. I don't remember what was on the sandwich, but Arnold Rimmer said, you know, everything is wrong. You look at the ingredients individually, it's wrong. The bread is wrong. The meat is wrong. The cheese is wrong. The vegetables are wrong. The sauce is wrong. It's wrong. It's wrong. It's wrong. But when you bite into it, it works. When you actually taste it, it works. And that's just kind of been like that's just kind of been the way, like, I don't know, like I said, so like I've in spite of certain allegations I've received from a couple of local jackasses, I've never been like the uber goth stereotype, right? Like I prefer the Creatures to Susie and the Banshees. I really do. I prefer Tones on Tail to Bauhaus, but I do prefer Bauhaus to Love and Rockets. Please don't ask me to explain that. I prefer Field to the Nephilim to Sisters of Mercy. But you know, it's wrong, it's wrong, it's wrong. You know, this is not the uber cliche, but when you stand back and you give it a look, you're like, no, this works. This person is indeed very clearly a goth. Where was I going? Yeah, just, I don't know. This puzzle is incredibly frustrating, but, I mean, look at all this shit, so, of course it is. And this is part of it too, right? So these are part of it. This is very frustrating, you see. So, this is, I think this is 750 pieces. It didn't tell me when, or did it? Oh wait, that's right. It would be on this thing. No, it just says free mystery puzzle inside ages 12 plus. Usually that signifies 1,000 pieces, but looking at the size of the pieces, I would guess 750. Oh my gosh, look at all these ones on the back. Oh, so many of these look even more frustrating.
With Ashley Lindsay Morgan, we also know that she would be kicked out of the house when she did something bad and would then be locked in the bad girls room as well. With Gabriella, she had something of a makeshift.
Kind of want to take a break from this, but I also really want to finish it tonight, but it's been 3 hours and I try not to go too much longer than that. Not being a goth has never been an issue for me. Oh yeah, it's yeah, like you don't have to be a cliche at all to go out and enjoy the night. In fact, like I've seen a lot of people who just oh gosh, I was mentioning during my last stream that I do rather miss, right? Yeah, I really want to go dancing. I just want to go dancing. But yeah, like my last stream, my last puzzle stream last week, somebody kind of winced when she was watching it in in the archive and got to the part where I mentioned last week that for some reason at Factory Mondays at Nectarine Necto in downtown Ann Arbor, for some reason we have a contingent of Juggalo rivet heads. Like we've got a contingent of Juggalos that are regulars at the Factory Mondays, which it leans a bit more industrial music than goth. I would even struggle to call some of this dark wave or synth pop, but yeah, they definitely lean a bit more industrial. But still, like there's a contingent of Juggalos that shows up like almost every week, or at least every week they can. And I don't get it. I mean, okay, it's horrorcore rap. I can see how somebody who is into horror movies and punk music, because here's the thing is when hip hop was starting in the early 80s in New York, I mean, it kind of started up simultaneously on both coasts, but in New York especially, a lot of the early rappers, like God, there was a 4-part, I think it was 4-part, maybe it was only 3, I don't know. It was a little documentary series that VH1 put together where they got a whole lot of the early people who were instrumental in the early 80s New York City hip-hop community that was coming up like 79, 80, 81. So like they got old members of like Sugar Hill Gang and all that out for like, the little interview segments. And apparently like the only nightclubs that would play early hip-hop records were the punk clubs. It was like, so like CBGB, I know there were other formative clubs. I know a lot of LA clubs, like Club with No Name, Club X. Shit, there's a few. I'm brain farting all over the place. But yeah, like they would play hip hop records at the punk clubs. So like rap and punk have a history of cohabitating side by side, of being this kind of like each other's step siblings that you become really good friends and get into trouble with, right? Oh shit, they had like Scott Ian of Anthrax in there too, like talking about like, oh yeah, like when him and Chuck D are like old friends, and I kind of like, and oh god, that's right, yeah, like they met when Chuck D was a promoter, and like, it's like before he started Public Enemy, so they met when he was a promoter, and like little Scott Ian is like still like basically like kind of a kid of the compared to who he is now, right? Of course it was like, this is like, oh god, this is like 35 years ago, right? So yeah, like they met at the punk clubs. Like he'd come by to drop off new records, you know, for the DJs at the punk clubs, and you know, he got talking with Scott Ian. So like that's why that Anthrax Public Enemy collaboration with like I'm the Man, like that, and of course, you know, like from I'm the Man, like that's why Rage Against the Machine had a career, was like, you know, this this like merging of hip hop and punk. At least that's, you know, kind of like how I joke about it, that, you know, yeah, if it wasn't for if it wasn't for that, like Rage Against the Machine would not have, you know, would not even be, because come on, it always took that it takes that one person to think that something that sounds kind of ridiculous when you're drunk or stoned or whatever, like it always takes that one person who says something really ridiculous. And maybe you don't even need to have drugs. Like maybe you're like the Frank Zappa type, like my mother always like wanted me to be, where like you don't need drugs to be weird. I mean, sometimes drugs are fun, but you don't need them to be weird. And if you need drugs to be weird, then you're probably actually very boring. And you should be less boring. Learn how to be not boring. But yeah, like I don't need drugs to be weird, but you know, hallucinogens can be fun sometimes. But yeah, that's the thing, is but like there's always something that starts up, and you go and you do a deep dive into how this thing came about, and it so often can go back to this one friend making, you know, proposing this idea that seems ridiculous at the time, and the next morning it still sounds like a good idea. It still sounds ridiculous. Everybody agrees it's still kind of ridiculous, but you go ahead and you do the thing anyway. And if you're very lucky, that ridiculous idea that you came up with because either you were drunk, you were stoned, or you're just that weird guy that everybody knows, it turned out to be kind of brilliant. And I'm so close to finishing this, but it is frustrating. I think I want to flip the table and go to bed. No, I'm gonna. It's been over 3 hours though. I like to not go too far over 3 hours, just so there's like some semblance of structure, because my show is 3 hours on the radio. So if I can keep the puzzle streams and any other random ass streams in the area of 3 hours, that is some kind of structure I'm giving myself. I'm, you know, I would like to not get too, I would like to not go too far from that, but at the same time, I'm so close to finishing this. But at the same time, this is an incredibly frustrating puzzle, and I just kind of want to flip the table and go feed the cats and never think about this puzzle again and just do this, and then because like I'm fucking corny sometimes, the next stream will be this 500-piece Doors of Dublin, because sometimes I'm corny as shit and all that. And this is Laverne and Shirley, and for some reason I thought it was a couple characters from Star Wars, for like, or maybe Donnie and Marie. Like, how can I think that? And I'm even looking at this too as I'm trying to put it together. And I'm thinking like, wait, is this Donnie and Marie, or is like some Star Wars people? Oh my gosh. Okay. No, I'm not gonna flip the table. I'm not gonna flip the table. For starters, there's too much crap on this table. Oh, good night, Darkly Tailored. Thank you so much. Because there's no icy peanut. Yeah, I mean, that's it. And like, if they're genuinely into the industrial music that gets played, that's great. Like industrial and goth rock have always cohabitated side by side in the club scene. And, therefore, because like this, that was the equivalent at the time in the early 80s of like the salons of the Belle Epoque. I've had many conversations with Adrienne about this and how like it works. There really are some beautiful parallels. And people really underestimate. Like I've watched, like I know it's a bit before my time, the whole thing with the heyday of the whole what's it called? What's it called? Oh, hey, that's where that goes. The London club scene of the early 80s. So that's a bit before my time. I was born like 19 I was born in the area of 40 odd years ago. So yeah, beginning of the 80s, a little bit before my time. But I've watched some amazing documentaries wherein that period is like really highlighted, and not just like London, but New York too. And like you see Klaus, you see the Klaus Nomi documentary with what's it called? No. You see the Klaus Nomi documentary, and you see the way that New York's avant-garde no wave scene was coming together at that time. And it's not just people going out and dancing and listening to the music that is being played and the bands that are performing. Like that's a very passive way of looking at it too. Like if you're a very passive person, if you're not like especially involved in the scene, that's fine. That's fine. Like you can be passively involved, but a lot of people who are very passively involved in the subculture now, they seem to grossly underestimate like how important it was that these clubs, especially in the early 80s, these were like these were not just places to go and listen to music and dance. These were places to go where you would not only listen to music, dance, drink, and be merry, but it was where you would meet people of like minds and similar ideas, and you would end up talking, and before you knew it, you were signing up to you can't even play you can't even play an instrument, but you're signing up like Johnny Slut. The man still can't play an instrument, or so he says. Like they had to Ollie Wisdom and them in Specimen had to write on the keys of the synthesizer what he was supposed to play and when. Like they would mark on the keys. You press these ones at this time and these ones at this time, and that's just make a pattern like that, right? So and okay, like he's an extreme case where they really loved his look. They really loved his look, and that's how he got invited in the band, right? They really loved his look, but they also liked a lot of his ideas, right? They didn't just love his look, obviously, or they wouldn't have invited him into the band. They loved his look, which is how they got talking to him. And then they got talking to him, and they're just like, oh my gosh, not only does this guy look interesting, he is interesting, and he's got some ideas, and we can probably try and teach him how to play, because we want to work with this guy artistically in this band we've got together now, right? And so, the nightclub as a cultural hub for the underground is that was pretty much the case with the goths. Just had lots in common with them and loved. Oh yeah, yeah, and it's a beautiful thing. And it's a beautiful thing, and the way that people these days on Reddit, and I like to talk shit about Reddit just because, oh my gosh, people up there on there have such a thumb up their ass so many times. Like I understand feeling very protective of the music scene, and especially with the way that goth has, come in and out of trends since about the early 90s, let's say, with a whole lot of misconceptions about things and, what goth is and what we're into. I can understand this. On the other hand, when you are so hyper focused on the music and the music alone, you are dismissing so much richness, right? When you look at the history of the scene, especially early on in clubs, and you just see music and musicians playing music and DJs playing records of other people's music, you have such a shallow understanding that it kind of borders, it just kind of strikes me as kind of poser adjacent. Like, some of your shit. That much is clear. But you have hyper focused on such a shallow understanding of the subculture. You know what? I'm gonna highlight this and for a bit. So okay, highlight. This never lets me read the whole thing. I'm gonna okay, wait a second now. Save highlight. Oh, at least 1 minute. Okay, so it did start it all, but god damn it. Okay. I'm gonna let this go around, and then I'm gonna restart because I wanna save this highlight, but in a way that will be very easily digested when I there's a whole bunch of highlights I need to go through and figure out what the fuck I'm doing with them. I'm not sure if my watch has gone all the way around yet. I love my analog watch. Please, this pace looks like it goes here. Please go here, piece. Why won't you go there? You look like you go there. Okay, that doesn't go there. Wait. Okay. Oh, goes there. Okay, that makes some sense. Almost there. All right, then I'll Okay, so as I began, like when I understand people on Reddit and other corners of the internet who are very protective about the music scene in the goth subculture. I can get very protective about it too, but I'm also very eager to share it. But when you're coming to goth and when you are explaining it to others in such a shallow focus that you are stressing music not only above everything else, but when you're coming off as somebody who is stressing literally only music, if you are stressing like only music as the only important thing, you are missing the fact that you're missing the full importance of the nightclub as a cultural hub, especially in the early 80s. This wasn't just a place for the underground subcultures of the time, including goth. This wasn't just the nightclub was not just a place where people would come and dance to music and watch musicians play music and listen to DJs play records of other people's music. No, the nightclub was a fully functioning cultural center for the underground. It was the equivalent to the salons of the Belle Epoque in 19th century France, Paris. This was the equivalent of the cafe culture amongst the, to an extent, retroactively termed flappers and sheiks of the jazz age of the 1920s and 30s. You know, like Dorothy Parker didn't just sit around the cafe listening to jazz music. No, she was writing, she was having ideas, she was conversing with people, she was being brilliant, in addition to being part of the jazz, in addition to being a jazz fan and cultural powerhouse of wit and wisdom and all. So as I began, like, I think there's a lot of people in the online goth community who have swung so far into their, you know, music only focus that they are dismissing, being completely dismissive of how important the nightclub in the 1980s was to goth as a subculture, not just for the music, but also for the ways that people would express themselves artistically. Like, this was where the nightclub is where you got, like, is where painters met. It's where writers would, you know, be jotting ideas down in their notebooks. It's where photographers would come and learn to hone their craft by taking snaps of the elaborately dressed people who would attend. It's where budding fashion designers would come and express themselves. It's where so much culture came and really started to. This is where it became not just a music scene for people who are fans of an assortment of bands, but it's where but the nightclub in the 80s and 90s was where people came to truly express ideas and to truly see themselves as somebody who was not just, you know, a working class stiff looking to blow off some steam on the dance floor, but also somebody who had something to offer. And yes, there was always going to be a lot of people who would just, like, passively enjoy the music and dance, and that's fine. That is some level of meaningful engagement. But it just feels so dismissive to look at that and say, that's it, right? It's so dismissive to shut down any and all conversations of Neil Gaiman's Sandman on r/goth because, you know, it's, even though, like, we would have these discussions at the bar of the club in the 1996. I remember very clearly, one of my exes, like, I started talking to him, like, yeah, I started talking to him because he played guitar in one of Eva O's bands for a bit, but, like, one of the first major conversations I had out with him was about Sandman, like, and we got talking to so many people, like, and that's how, like, oh God, I was like 18, right? I was 18 when I was dating that, right? That dude. So yeah, like, I think people truly underestimate in the current cultural landscape, just like how important the nightclub was to underground culture, because it was so much more than just music. Music was the rallying cry that we all came to when we heard. Music was the voice that called to us like-minded people, and music was the most international language that came out of the nightclub. But like once language barriers can be broken, and see, that's the thing about music is it is kind of like the ultimate language barrier, because you listen to people, you can listen to music that is in a completely different language, but you can still get a good idea of what this song is about, even if it is steeped in metaphor, like so many Japanese songs. Like you look at the captions on like anime theme songs, and it just looks so bonkers, right? But that's like how Japanese traditional songwriting is. It's deeply based in metaphor, usually about nature of some sort. But that's just how their musical traditions are. But you can understand from the tone and from the instruments and the keys everything is written in. You can tell, you can have a good idea on what this is supposed to be about. You can have a good idea like what all of these complex metaphors in other languages are supposed to convey. And so like once other parts of the language barrier are broken, at the nightclub, that is not just the place where we come to dance and drink and listen to music. That's also the place where we came to be. Like that is the origin of goth. It's not. It's the music is the music is the dinner bell that brings us home. But once we get there, we have so much to say at the table to each other. And sometimes the music is what holds us together when we're fighting at the table, because that is the one universal thing that we can all relate to, and that's the importance of music. And on any underground culture, like that's why you always see music. You always see, even if it is like in a sort of passive way, like you see the revolutionary subcultures of the French Revolution. You see those subcultures that came about in the French Revolution. Where did they gather? They gathered at taverns. They gathered at pubs, where people were not only eating and drinking, but they were playing and listening to and dancing to and enjoying music. And so that's why we see music being that rallying cry for underground subcultures throughout history, like through centuries. We see this. We see music as the gathering place, and it is such a definitive thing because it can cross language barriers. Like we know what a song is about just from listening to it, even if we can't make sense of that language. And so like when other layers to those barriers are peeled away, that's where we come. The nightclub is where we come to communicate on so many things. And that's what I miss about going out to the clubs and all of that. That's why I'm so heartbroken. All right, I gotta go feed my cats. Take care of yourselves and all of that. No está, Will.